Chapter 1443. Looking at Yang Ming, who had fallen to the ground, Fang Tian touched his chin strangely and said to himself, "No way, this thing is quite common. Now, cancerous wood strike has been around for a long time. This is an old thing. Don't tell me you haven't seen this before. Cancerous wood strike. MP4, right?" Yang Ming wiped the sweat on his forehead. "This old man is too strong. Didn't you hear what I said to you before?" Yang Ming took the MP3 player in Fang Tian's hand and put it aside. Then, he asked. "I heard it." Fang Tian nodded. "Why didn't you answer me if you heard it?" Yang Ming looked at Fang Tian, dumbfounded. "I answered. I said oh." Fang Tian said seriously. "What do you mean by oh?" Yang Ming almost rolled his eyes. "I think it's just a formality. Isn't it inappropriate to make it so grand?" "There's nothing inappropriate." Fang Tian shook his head. "Even if you don't need it, Ruoshui and I can use it." Yang Ming was stunned. So this is what this guy is thinking. Looking at Yang Ming's weird expression, Fang Tian smiled and said, "Well, to be honest, only Wang Songshan and I know about the cancellation of the engagement this time. The servants and disciples of the butterfly family don't know the inside story. If everyone knows the inside story, then what's the point of this formality?" "That's true." Yang Ming nodded. "This kind of secret matter naturally wouldn't be known by outsiders. If it was spread out, this formality would be in vain. I thought Wang Songshan didn't want to cancel the engagement after I helped him solve his family's big problem." "Oh, it's also possible. He definitely wouldn't want to give up such a capable son-in-law." Fang Tian smiled. "If it were me, I wouldn't give up so easily. This time, Wang Songshan might really want to keep you in the butterfly family." "Damn, I'm being a busybody." Yang Ming shrugged. "If I knew, I wouldn't have helped them solve their problems. I can't even help them and make a mistake. That's your own business. You decide for yourself." Fang Tian waved his hand impatiently. "Okay, I'm going to continue listening to the storytelling. You go play by yourself." "What do you mean go play by yourself?" Yang Ming saw that Fang Tian actually ignored him, put on his headphones and continued listening to his cancerous wood arsenic. Yang Ming had no choice but to push the door open and leave the room. However, he was muttering in his heart. Judging from the tone of Heavenly King Song Shan when he spoke to him today, the possibility of him going back on his words was very high. It wasn't that Yang Ming was arrogant and felt that his charm was infinite. It was mainly because the strength he showed was too strong. He directly solved the butterfly family's biggest problem with a phone call. It was impossible that this strength didn't move Wang Songshan. If he could become the butterfly family's son-in-law, then he would be a big help to the butterfly family and make the current butterfly family's strength reach a higher level. Yang Ming asked himself. If he was in Wang Songshan's position, he would naturally have such thoughts. This wasn't because Yang Ming was overconfident. Thinking of this, Yang Ming felt that when he met the butterfly family's little princess at night, he must not let her take a fancy to him. Previously, Yang Ming still had an indifferent attitude. Anyway, it was just a formality. But now, since Wang Songshan's side might be tempted, and if the little princess of the butterfly family also took a fancy to him, the possibility of him being forced to marry Wang Ruoshui was too high if the father and daughter joined forces and Wang Ruoshui forced Fang Tianyi. Yang Ming had to be on guard. After figuring out the various links in the middle, Yang Ming couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. It seemed that he had to do something. Otherwise, he was still considered handsome. The possibility of being taken a fancy to was very high. Maybe he could only pretend to be the most hated image of himself to make the butterfly family's little princess not want to see him a second time. This way, he could eliminate all future troubles. Sigh, for the sake of righteousness, I, the handsome assassin Yang, also have a day of self-degradation. What Wang Xiaoyan didn't expect was that Yang Ming actually had the same idea as her. This was really a case of lovers having a telepathic connection. Their thoughts were the same. In the evening, the entire butterfly castle was in a festive atmosphere. Wang Songzhan saw that it was almost time, but Wang Xiaoyan still hadn't come out of the room. He was a little anxious and knocked on the door. Yen Yen, it's almost time for both parties to meet. Why haven't you come out yet? Dad, didn't you ask me to dress up properly? Am I not dressing up now? Wang Xiaoyan looked at the watch on her wrist. Isn't there still half an hour left? What's the hurry? If I go out now, I might be chased back by my father to dress up again. Even if my father doesn't agree at the last moment, there's nothing he can do. Oh, then hurry up. Wang Songzhan had no choice but to stand at the door and wait anxiously when he heard that his daughter was dressing up. On the other side, Yang Ming was also preparing in an orderly manner. Old man Fang's voice also came in from outside the door. Yang Ming, what are you doing, little brat? It's almost time. Don't tell me you've gone missing. No, I don't know which clothes are suitable for me. I'm choosing. How was Yang Ming choosing clothes? He was obviously modifying the clothes at the moment. The clothes in the room were all sent by the servants of the butterfly family for him to choose from. No matter how Yang Ming looked at it, every piece of clothing could only set off his handsomeness and was of no use in destroying his image. There was no other way. Yang Ming could only start to modify the clothes by himself. Why did you lock the door from the inside? Hurry up and open the door. I'll give you some advice. Fang Tian heard Yang Ming's voice and felt relieved. It's good that this kid didn't run away. Wait for a while. I'll be done soon. Yang Ming shook the robe that he personally modified and put it on. After looking left and right in the mirror, he finally nodded with satisfaction. After putting on the clothes, Yang Ming picked up a thumb ring and put it on his hand. This thumb ring was previously stolen from Wang Songshan's antique showroom. With Yang Ming's skill, stealing these things was a piece of cake. Yang Ming casually picked up a pair of sunglasses and put it on his face. He smiled at the mirror twice. It's too perfect. I'm simply a genius. Yang Ming touched the bald head that he had just shaved. My current image is no different from the big bully Huang Shiren in the TV series. It's simply too realistic. I didn't expect that I have such a talent for disguise. This was the first time Yang Ming put on makeup after becoming an assassin. It was obviously very successful. Even he didn't recognize himself. If it wasn't because he was afraid of exposing his special ability to directly change his appearance, Yang Ming wouldn't have spent so much effort. It wasn't difficult to directly transform into the image of a stupid guy who deserved a beating. Looking at the time, it was almost time. Yang Ming held a cigar in his mouth, pushed the door and walked out of the room. What the fuck? Who are you? Fang Tian was waiting for Yang Ming at the door. When he saw the door open, he was about to scold this kid. Why is he so slow in wearing clothes? But before he could open his mouth, he saw a bald man with sunglasses and a cigar. He was wearing a vulgar robe and had a thumb ring on his hand. Who the fuck is this person? Chapter 1444. What the fuck? Who are you? Fang Tian pushed Yang Ming aside and looked into the room. However, he found that there was no one in the room. Then, he turned his head and looked at Yang Ming. The more he looked, the more familiar he felt. He blinked his eyes in confusion. I am Yang Ming. Yang Ming rolled his eyes. However, Fang Tian couldn't see through the sunglasses. He didn't have Yang Ming's X-ray vision skill. Pooh. Fong Tian heard Yang Ming's voice and almost fell down. He stared at Yang Ming's extremely vulgar outfit. Are you really Yang Ming? As real as it can be. Yang Ming smiled bitterly. He also knew that anyone who was familiar with him would have such an unbelievable reaction when they saw his current appearance. How did you become like this? Fong Tian was surprised for a long time. His psychological quality was relatively strong. He was an assassin, so his ability to accept things was relatively strong. However, he was really shocked by Yang Ming. It's all because I overdid it previously. I appeared too strong and helped the butterfly family to solve their problem. I was really afraid that their little princess would take a fancy to me, so I dressed up like this. Yang Ming shrugged and said somewhat helplessly, in this way, any girl who sees me will not be able to fall in love with me. It's good enough that they don't hate me. Your trick is really good. Quack quack. Fong Tian listened to Yang Ming's explanation and laughed like an old duck. He was as wretched as he could be. I say, old man, what are you laughing at? Yang Ming was a little annoyed by his own image. He was also handsome. When did he become a big hooligan? Moreover, he was such a vulgar hooligan. The only thing missing was a label on his face that said, I am a bad guy. Nothing. Fong Tian was imagining what expression Yang Ming would have when he met Wang Xiaoyan later. When he thought of this, he felt that it was really fun. Nothing. Yang Ming curled his lips. If you want to laugh, just laugh. You have laughed enough now. Don't laugh later, so as not to make the other party suspect anything. Yang Ming knew that Fong Tian would inevitably laugh because of his behavior, so he endured it. He let Fong Tian finish laughing at this time to avoid making mistakes later. Stop laughing. Kid, I haven't asked you yet. How do you know the people from the Buffon family? Fong Tian glared at Yang Ming. After all, he was the king of assassins. He had a sense of propriety in controlling his emotions. It only took a moment for him to calm down from laughing out loud. I have accepted a grand disciple for you. In a few days, I will visit you. You will know. Yang Ming laughed. Fong Tian was shocked. The king of assassins of each generation only decided to accept a disciple and cultivate his successor when he was about to retire. You haven't finished your apprenticeship yet. How did you accept a disciple? Yang Ming rolled his eyes. I just accepted a disciple. Who said that I would let him inherit my mantle? He is just an outer disciple. Didn't you also accept Dong Jun? I see. You scared me to death. Fong Tian was confused because of his concern. When he heard that Yang Ming only accepted an ordinary disciple, he didn't take it to heart. Your disciple is from the Buffon family? Yes, and he is a core member. Yang Ming smiled. You will know when the time comes. Fong Tian laughed and didn't say anything more. He took Yang Ming to the restaurant where they would meet. Yen, are you done yet? Wang Songshan was so anxious that his eyes were green. There are less than 20 minutes left before the meeting. Why hasn't Wang Xiaoyan come out yet? Even if she wants to dress up like a fairy, it doesn't take so long, right? Dad, why are you in such a hurry? Wang Xiaoyan was applying eyeshadow in front of the mirror at the moment. And this is not bad. I look more and more like a delinquent girl. Wang Xiaoyan looked at the tattooed sticker in her hand. It was about time, so she tore it off. And the sticker is not bad. It looks real. How can I not be anxious? Hurry up and open the door and let Dad in. Aren't you being too slow? Wang Songshan said anxiously. Okay, I will be done soon. Wang Xiaoyan put on a bright leather coat and replied quickly. This dressing was already a delinquent girl. Wang Xiaoyan's whole person became very flirtatious. It was estimated that a decent man would not like this. Wang Xiaoyan's plan was that when they met later, her fiancé must not take a fancy to her. It would be difficult to deal with him if he kept pestering her. This time, she could directly make him hate her, which would save a lot of trouble. Caw. Wang Xiaoyan opened her door and walked out in a pair of very high heels. If it weren't for the excellent balance of an assassin's body, Wang Xiaoyan estimated that she couldn't wear this pair of high heels. Fuck. Who are you? Wang Songshan saw the flirtatious girl in front of him who was actually taller than him. He suddenly opened his eyes wide and was a little overwhelmed. Where is my Yan Yan? Are you the makeup artist she hired? What makeup artist? Wang Xiaoyan was dumbfounded after listening to her father's words. Dad, it's me. Ga. Yan Yan. Wang Songshan's throat was like an old duck. He suddenly made a Ga sound and looked at the flirtatious girl who called him dad in front of him dumbfounded. What's wrong? Don't you think I look very handsome in this outfit? Wang Xiaoyan was very proud of her masterpiece. Cough cough, cough cough. Wang Songshan was stunned for a long time and finally coughed violently. Yan Yan, what are you doing? Why are you dressed like this? Like a female hooligan. Oh. Do you also think I look like a delinquent girl? Wang Xiaoyan was even more proud after hearing her father's words. It seems that my dressing up is still very successful. You did it deliberately. Wang Songshan finally saw a little bit of his daughter from the girl in front of him. Yeah, it was intentional. Wang Xiaoyan admitted very frankly. Why did you do this? Wang Songshan didn't understand Wang Xiaoyan's approach. You dilly-dallied for so long to dress up like this. Yeah, what's wrong with it? Wang Xiaoyan said in her heart, in fact, I have already finished dressing up. The rest of the time was just for dressing up. I came out early because I was afraid that you would ask me to go back and dress up again. I came out now because I was running out of time. Even if you don't want to, there's no other way. Wang Songshan was suddenly angry. What are you doing like this? Won't you lose the face of our butterfly family if others see you like this? What's wrong with losing face? Wang Xiaoyan disagreed. I'm just afraid that the so-called fiancé will not be willing to break off the engagement after seeing me. It will be troublesome if he pesters me like good. Am I not saving you trouble? You made such a scribbled appearance just for this. Wang Songshan didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he heard Wang Xiaoyan's so-called reason. Yeah, the other party is already engaged to me. His master is your old friend, and aunt. So, if they really don't agree to break off the engagement, won't the butterfly family be looking for trouble if we unilaterally propose to break off the engagement? Wang Xiaoyan said, this way, he will hate me when he sees me. It will save a lot of trouble. A decent man won't like me dressing like this. As for my own reputation, it doesn't matter. I have a boyfriend anyway, so I don't care about this. Wang Songshan was speechless. He didn't expect Wang Xiaoyan to have such an idea, but let her be. If the person Wang Xiaoyan was meeting today was not Yang Ming, then Wang Songshan would rather let Wang Xiaoyan go back and dress up again even if it was too late. However, the person she was meeting today was Yang Ming, so she could do whatever she wanted. It would be fun when this girl saw that the person she was meeting was actually Yang Ming. Hee hee. Wang Songshan began to plot against his daughter insidiously. Chapter 1445. Dad, what's wrong with you? Didn't you say that it's almost time? Wang Xiaoyan smiled mischievously. Let's hurry over. Don't let others think that our butterfly family is neglecting others. Your outfit. Forget it, do whatever you want. Wang Songshan pretended to sigh. If you're not afraid of embarrassing yourself, then I have nothing to say. What am I afraid of? Wang Xiaoyan said indifferently, in front of that so-called fiancé, the more I embarrass myself, the less he will like me. Hurry up and cancel this engagement, then everything will be fine. Why should I care about that? Okay, as long as you don't regret it when you see that the other party is a young talent, Wang Songshan reminded Wang Xiaoyan. It didn't matter if she took it to heart or not. Don't worry, what do I regret? I can't wait for that young talent to be scared away when he sees my appearance. Wang Xiaoyan waved her small fist. Wang Songshan nodded and walked with Wang Xiaoyan to the pre-prepared preparation room of the restaurant. At this moment, Yang Ming was sitting in the preparation room next to the restaurant. This was a temporary resting place before the formal meeting between the two parties. Yang Ming had a room, and Wang Xiaoyan also had a room. Yang Ming grabbed 2 glass balls and rubbed them in his hands. It would be better if there was a birdcage. This hedonistic bully doesn't look good. Not only did Fang Tian not stop Yang Ming's actions, but he also laughed at the side as if nothing had happened. However, the few servants of the butterfly family were somewhat inexplicable. The future son-in-law of the family looked so handsome and talented yesterday and this morning. Why did he become such a jerk at the critical moment? They wanted to remind him, but they didn't dare to speak casually. Even these servants were a little anxious. They were very optimistic about the future son-in-law, and they heard that the future son-in-law showed his invincible power today and solved the biggest problem facing the family. Such a super talent had already become the idol of everyone in the family. Why did he drop the ball when they were about to meet? As long as one slightly compared the image of Yang Ming before and now, one could distinguish which one was more charming and likable. Even the servants and family disciples could understand such a simple truth. How could Yang Ming and Fang Tian not know? But that was the truth. Yang Ming appeared with such a vulgar image. Moreover, she only appeared when it was almost time to meet. Even if she went back to dress up now, it was too late. These people found it hard to understand. Why did Yang Ming become like this? Could it be that he felt that bullies were more attractive? But isn't this image of a bully a bit too vulgar and stupid? Wang Xiaoyan was also led into another lounge by Wang Songshan. The servant who was in charge of waiting on the side almost stared her eyes out. Is this the little princess of the family? Why does she look so different from the little delinquent girls in the market? These high heels, this outfit, this hairstyle, these big earrings, this, even tattoos on her hands. The servants were completely confused. What happened to this young lady? A few days ago, she still had a pure and cute appearance. How did she become like this in the blink of an eye? Wouldn't the future son-in-law be scared to death if she went to meet him with such an outfit? Who can marry such a wife? What is going on? These servants wanted to ask what was going on, but Wang Songshan was following them. Wang Songshan didn't show any displeasure, so what else could they say? There are still 5 minutes. Yen, you prepare a little. We will go out together. Wang Songshan said. No need to prepare. It's fine like this. Wang Xiaoyan said indifferently. Wang Songshan glanced at his daughter speechlessly, but he didn't say anything in the end. Since she thought it was fine like this, what else could he say? The servants and the disciples of the butterfly family also wisely shut their mouths after seeing that Wang Songshan didn't speak. It seemed that the young lady's outfit was approved by the family master. Then, no matter the reason, dressing up like this had nothing to do with everyone. Dad, let's go. Wang Xiaoyan stood up. She wanted to meet as soon as possible and break off the engagement as soon as possible, so as not to waste any more time. Let's go. Wang Songshan looked at the time. Although there were still 5 minutes, it was almost time. Even if they walked out, they would only have to wait for a few minutes. Besides, Yang Ming wouldn't come out on time. Wang Xiaoyan walked out of the door while humming a little song. She did some weird dance moves with her feet. She looked like a little delinquent in a disco bar. It was hard for her to wear such high-heeled shoes. If she hadn't practiced the family's unique butterfly steps, she would have fallen to the ground at this moment. Anyway, Wang Xiaoyan acted as exaggerated as she could. When she went out, she took out a pack of cigarettes from her pocket. She took one out, lit it with a match, and held it in her hand. Although Wang Xiaoyan didn't smoke, she could at least pretend. After taking a puff, she would keep the smoke in her mouth and spit it out after a while. She didn't need to inhale it into her lungs. Ha! When Wang Songshan saw that his baby daughter actually lit a cigarette, he was shocked beyond words. When did my daughter get such a bad habit? Just as he was about to scold her, he saw Wang Xiaoyan winking at him and smiling slightly. Wang Songshan immediately understood that this girl was just pretending. She didn't know how to smoke, so she took out a cigarette to pretend. However, if the person she met wasn't Yang Ming, he might really be scared away. Why isn't that bullshit fiancé here yet? Why do you want me to wait for him? When Wang Xiaoyan went out, she saw that there were no outsiders in the restaurant except for a few servants and disciples of the butterfly family. There wasn't even a shadow of her fiancé. She immediately became angry. She spent so much effort to perform the little dance and pretend to be proficient in lighting a cigarette. Did it all go to waste? No one saw it. Therefore, Miss Wang's anger was aroused at once. Anyway, her purpose was to make the other party hate her, so Wang Xiaoyan didn't care whether she was elegant or not. She directly opened her mouth and scolded. When Wang Xiaoyan said this, everyone present widened their eyes. Is this the little princess of the butterfly family? How can she say such unpleasant words? What's going on? On Yang Ming's side, it was almost time. He was about to go out when he heard a sudden scolding. Black lines suddenly appeared on his forehead. What the fuck? This is my fiancé. So rude. However, this voice is a bit familiar. Is this chick also very dissatisfied with me? However, although Yang Ming thought so, he didn't dare to neglect. If this violent chick really took a fancy to him, he would be in trouble. Therefore, this evil tyrant Yang Ming still had to continue acting. What are you yelling for? Yelling for your ass. Do you want to be fucked? Since Yang Ming had made up his mind to break up with this chick, he naturally wouldn't spoil her. Anyway, the more vulgar he was at this moment, the more annoyed this chick would be. Yang Ming pushed open the door, holding 2 glass balls in his hands. He looked up and walked out with swaying steps. There was still a half-lit cigar in his mouth. His other hand touched his bald head with a complacent look. Wang Xiaoyan just scolded, but she didn't expect to be retorted by someone. Moreover, it was extremely vicious. She was suddenly furious. This is my fucking fiancé. Is he actually such a person? Fortunately, I didn't agree to be engaged with him. Otherwise, my life would be over. But, why is this person's voice a bit familiar? Looking in the direction of the voice, she saw a bald man with sunglasses and a cigar in his mouth. He was wearing a landlord's robe from an unknown dynasty. He was holding 2 glass balls in his hands and wearing a big thumb ring. He walked out swaying with his eyes looking up. Every step he took, his legs trembled. It was as if he couldn't stand properly after too much indulgence at night. Such a man is actually the young talent mentioned by father. Is there a problem with father's vision, or is there a deviation in my aesthetic? This is obviously the image of a nouveau riche who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Such a person is the successor of the King of Assassins? Isn't the title of the King of Assassins too worthless? Wait. Why does this person's aura seem familiar? Chapter 1446. I have been waiting for you for a long time. You are quite arrogant, aren't you? Although Wang Xiaoyan felt that the aura of the person in front of her was somewhat familiar, she didn't think much about it. The only thought in her mind was to quickly end the battle so that she could break off the engagement after meeting him. Therefore, the worse the impression she left on her fiancé, the better. Wang Xiaoyan crossed her legs and casually sat on the chair. Then, she raised her hand to put the cigarette in her mouth and took a puff. She left the smoke in her mouth for a while and then spat it out. Wang Xiaoyan was an assassin, and she was good at disguising herself. Her imitation of smoking was also very good. If it were someone else, they would definitely be deceived by her and think that she was an old smoker. But who was the person in front of her? That was Yang Ming, the great assassin who was best at observing details. Although real smoking and fake smoking looked similar, they were actually very different. Real smoking was to inhale smoke into the lungs, so the chest would bulge when smoking. However, fake smoking was to inhale smoke into the lungs with the mouth but not into the lungs. Instead, it was kept in the mouth. As a result, the chest would naturally not bulge. Therefore, as long as this small detail was discovered, one could see through the truth of the matter. Yang Ming didn't deliberately distinguish whether the little delinquent girl in front of him was a real smoker or a fake smoker. He just accidentally discovered the situation and couldn't help but mock. You don't even know how to smoke, yet you are still pretending. It's really ridiculous. Are you brainless? Yang Ming's words could be said to be extremely vicious, but Yang Ming was not afraid of offending the little princess of the butterfly family. Yang Ming's original intention was to offend this little princess completely. The best way was for both of them to bare their teeth when they met. It could also ensure that he could successfully break off the engagement. Damn, you dare to call me brainless. Wang Xiaoyan stood up suddenly and pointed at Yang Ming angrily. I think you are the brainless one. Wang Xiaoyan suddenly lost her balance because she stood up too quickly and was not used to the super high heels on her feet. Even though she was an assassin, it was still difficult for her to maintain her posture in anger. She directly leaned back and sat on the ground. It was very funny. Humph. Wang Xiaoyan suddenly screamed and grimaced in pain, and Yang Ming was stunned after hearing Wang Xiaoyan scream. Why is this voice so familiar? It's like a woman moaning at a certain time. It's still fresh in Yang Ming's mind. Yang Ming took off his sunglasses and carefully looked at the face of the little princess of the butterfly family. Previously, Yang Ming came here with the intention of breaking off the engagement. He wanted to be on bad terms with the little princess of the butterfly family, so he didn't take a closer look at what she looked like. Because whether she was as beautiful as a fairy or extremely ugly, it had nothing to do with Yang Ming. However, after Yang Ming heard this scream, he began to pay attention to the person in front of him. At first glance, he couldn't help but be shocked. Although this woman's appearance was beyond recognition, through the messy makeup, the bottom plate was somewhat familiar. She was very similar to the owner of the moaning sound. After using his special ability, he directly ignored the disguises in front of him and directly saw the true face of the person in front of him. The two glass balls in Yang Ming's hands fell to the ground with a clatter. He couldn't help but blurt out two words, yen yen dash. Wang Xiaoyan was covering her little butt and grimacing from the fall. She was very unhappy with the fiancé in front of her. She was about to stand up and quarrel with him to vent her anger. Suddenly, she heard him call her name so intimately. Wang Xiaoyan almost exploded. Is Yan Yan someone you can call? Who do you think you are to me? Only a few people closest to me call me that. Who do you think you are? Wang Xiaoyan was about to refute, but suddenly she felt that this Yan Yan had an indescribable sense of familiarity. It seemed like. Wang Xiaoyan thought of this and quickly raised her head to look at her fiancé. At first glance, she couldn't help but be shocked. At this moment, Yang Ming had taken off his big sunglasses. Although he was still bald and his clothes were indescribably vulgar, at this moment, people who knew Yang Ming could naturally see that the person in front of them was Yang Ming. Yang Ming. Wang Xiaoyan looked at the man in front of her in disbelief. Why does my extremely annoying fiancé look so similar to Yang Ming? Except for the head shape and dressing habits, they were simply carved from the same mold. He wore sunglasses before, covering most of his entire face. Wang Xiaoyan didn't see the appearance of the person clearly. She even disdained to look. Because in her mind, what this person looked like had nothing to do with her. It didn't matter now, and it was impossible to have anything to do with it in the future. So, what did it matter if she looked or not? Therefore, from then on, Wang Xiaoyan didn't pay attention to this person's appearance. Even if she felt that his voice was somewhat familiar, she didn't think much about it. Because the preconceived evil thoughts had already made Wang Xiaoyan extremely annoyed with this fiancé. How could she have the mood to analyze who his voice was like? But after Yang Ming called out Wang Xiaoyan's nickname, Wang Xiaoyan had to pay attention to the man in front of her. The so-called attention was just anger. How could anyone call this name? At home, in addition to her father, Butler Mu, and the aunt she just met, outside, only her good friend Xiaoying and her boyfriend Yang Ming could be called. The person in front of her actually called her that. How could Wang Xiaoyan not be annoyed? So, she looked up at this man, but she didn't expect that at first glance, Wang Xiaoyan was suddenly dumbfounded. Is there such a similar person in this world? The reason why Wang Xiaoyan didn't immediately confirm that the person in front of her was Yang Ming was because the image of Yang Ming and the Yang Ming in her heart was simply different. One of them had a handsome face that always carried a trace of an evil smile. And this Yang Ming was simply the villain image of a costume TV series. The kind of stupid bully who was abused by the protagonist. Ugh! Are you really Yan Yan? When Yang Ming saw that Wang Xiaoyan in front of him actually recognized him, he was even more certain in his heart. Although Yang Ming found that the person in front of him looked exactly like Wang Xiaoyan through his special ability, after all, the image was somewhat different. He and Wang Xiaoyan had the same idea and were not sure. Until Wang Xiaoyan recognized him, he was sure that the person in front of him was Wang Xiaoyan. Ugh! Are you really Yang Ming? Wang Xiaoyan was suddenly dumbfounded. The person in front of her, regardless of appearance or tone, was exactly the same as Yang Ming. Wang Xiaoyan didn't believe that he wasn't Yang Ming. This was because she had never heard that Yang Ming had a twin brother or something like that. Wang Songshan. Wang Xiaoyan. Damn! Wang Songshan, is he your father? Yang Ming silently repeated the two names, and suddenly felt like he was being played. Are these two people father and daughter? Yang Ming. You are the apprentice of the King of Assassins? My fiancé. Wang Xiaoyan didn't care about the slight pain in her little butt. She got up from the ground and threw the cigarette aside. Then, she kicked off the two high heels on her feet and sighed, if I knew it was you, I wouldn't have pretended. I'm so tired. It seems that the person you're talking about seems to be me. Yang Ming suddenly smiled bitterly, I had a hard time pretending. Motherfucker, when did I pretend to be a bully? Wang Xiaoyan and Yang Ming were not stupid people. On the contrary, they were extremely smart. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to reach the peak of assassins. In an instant, the two of them understood the current situation. That is, both of them should have been played. Or it could be said that they were tricked by the two elders. Fang Tian and Wang Songzhan clearly knew that he and Wang Xiaoyan knew each other, and they made such a big scene. The purpose was to embarrass both of them. If Wang Songzhan didn't know Yang Ming, it would be reasonable, but Fang Tian would definitely know Wang Xiaoyan. Before going to Vietnam, Yang Ming had brought Wang Xiaoyan to meet Fang Tian, and Fang Tian also knew the name of Wang Xiaoyan. Now that he thought about it, Fang Tian's strange words like "very good" had a different meaning. He must have thought of Wang Xiaoyan's identity at that time, but he didn't say it. Yang Ming was so angry, but he couldn't do anything about it. These two old guys are simply disrespectful. No wonder they kept saying that I would definitely regret it if I broke off the engagement. Sure enough, there is another deeper meaning. Chapter 1447. Dad. Wang Xiaoyan obviously realized that she was tricked by her family at this moment. Before this, she had not only mentioned Yang Ming's name to her father once, but she had mentioned it many times. Whether it was on the phone before or when she went home this time, she almost kept mentioning this name. However, her father did not mention that her fiancé was Yang Ming. If Fang Tian didn't know, it was still reasonable. After all, he didn't know her identity and couldn't be sure. However, it was impossible for her father to not know. This time, it was obvious that her father and Fang Tian colluded to play a joke on her and Yang Ming. No wonder her father said that the fiancé easily solved the family's trouble and could easily order the Buffon family people. Yang Ming was old Buffon's master. If this matter couldn't be done properly, it was simply impossible. Thinking of this, Wang Xiaoyan suddenly gritted her teeth in anger. Looking at Yang Ming, who had a bitter smile on his face, Wang Xiaoyan suddenly laughed. You were fooled too? Nonsense. If I wasn't fooled, why would I dress up like this? Yang Ming shrugged helplessly. If I knew it was you, why would I waste this effort? Am I not sick in the head? Ha, but your bald head is really funny. Wang Xiaoyan looked at Yang Ming's head and couldn't help but laugh. Come on. Look at your appearance. It's funny. Yang Ming sat opposite Wang Xiaoyan. Since the two people had confirmed each other's identity, they naturally let go and were not as restrained as before. Didn't I do it for you? Wang Xiaoyan snorted. I came here to break off the engagement. Wasn't it just to be with you? Am I not doing it too? Yang Ming spread his hands and said innocently, I have made such a big sacrifice. My brain will be laughed at when I go back. You? Do you still care about this? Anyway, you already have so many women. You don't need one more, right? Wang Xiaoyan snorted. Her voice was a little jealous. Apparently, she thought that Yang Ming had more than one woman. That also requires a foundation of feelings. Yang Ming said awkwardly, I don't even know you, and I'm already engaged. How can I not break off the engagement? You dressed up like this. Are you afraid that I will like you? Wang Xiaoyan looked at Yang Ming for a long time, and finally couldn't help but laugh. Yeah, I thought that I would dress myself up. Why didn't you mention it before? Wang Xiaoyan frowned. She was a little dissatisfied with Yang Ming's concealment. Why didn't you tell me earlier? My master didn't ask me to talk nonsense. Yang Ming smiled bitterly. Why didn't you say that you are the miss of the butterfly family? I don't dare to talk about things in the family. Wang Xiaoyan also knew that she couldn't blame Yang Ming for this. She couldn't simply say it, so Yang Ming naturally couldn't simply say it. No wonder you have a butterfly tattoo on your body. Yang Ming suddenly thought of the tattoo on Wang Xiaoyan's body and said with a smirk. Wang Xiaoyan suddenly blushed. What are you talking about? How am I talking nonsense? Yang Ming smiled. I guess it's because your father and my master are a little unhappy with our resistance to this marriage, so they deliberately did such a thing to trick us. Dad. Wang Xiaoyan naturally thought of this possibility. Just now, she was angry and wanted to call her father out to ask, but she was interrupted by Yang Ming. At this time, Yang Ming mentioned it again, so she raised her voice to call her father out. You've met enough. Shouldn't we discuss the cancellation of the marriage? Wang Songhan smiled and pushed open the door of the lounge and walked out. Dad. You. Wang Xiaoyan was furious. Tell me, did you do it deliberately? Deliberately? What deliberately? Wang Songhan pretended to be ignorant and scratched his head. He looked at Wang Xiaoyan strangely. Yan, what are you talking about? Well, let's quickly discuss the cancellation of the marriage, so as not to be a joke. Uncle Wang, don't mess around. Did you already know about it? Yang Ming couldn't yell like Wang Xiaoyan. After all, the person in front of him was not Fang Tian. He could be impolite to Fang Tian, but he couldn't do that in front of Wang Xiaoyan. At least he was Wang Xiaoyan's father and his elder. Are you really Yang Ming? Wang Songhan was shocked when he suddenly saw Yang Ming. How did Yang Ming become like this in just one afternoon? He wasn't like this in the morning. Is this Yang Ming? At this moment, although Yang Ming had taken off his sunglasses, his bald head and robe were still there. Especially the big shiny thumb ring on his hand, it made Yang Ming look extremely vulgar. It's me. Yang Ming nodded. I'm afraid that I had the same idea as Yan before. At this moment, Yang Ming felt very embarrassed. Although the current situation was set up by Wang Songhan and Fang Tian, he did indeed swear that he would definitely cancel the marriage, and even achieve this goal at all costs. Wang Songhan had reminded him more than once not to regret it in the future, but he still insisted on canceling the marriage. So no matter what, Yang Ming was still a little bit in the wrong. Yang Ming, you little brat, didn't you insist on canceling the marriage? Before Wang Songhan could answer, Fang Tian's wretched and proud voice came out. Then, the door of Yang Ming's lounge opened, and Fang Tian walked out from inside. The marriage contract I set for you can naturally satisfy you. Are you satisfied now? The young lady of the butterfly family, not bad, right, quack. Fang Tian's voice stopped abruptly when his gaze moved to Wang Xiaoyan. Chapter 1448. Wang Songhan and Fang Tian blushed when they were scolded by Wang Ruoshui as shameless. Indeed, it was inappropriate for an elder to make such a joke with a junior. Especially Fang Tian, he didn't dare to say anything after being scolded by Wang Ruoshui. He lowered his head and looked like he was being bullied. Wang Songhan couldn't do anything about it. He secretly hated Fang Tian for being a coward. Now, Wang Songhan could only take the blame for the plan that they had discussed together. Ruoshui, don't be angry. Old Fang and I are only doing this because these two juniors don't know what's good for them. We originally arranged a perfect marriage for them, but they didn't cherish it. So, we're just teaching them a lesson. Ruoshui, you also saw that little friend Yang Ming wanted to break off the engagement no matter what. Wang Songhan secretly said in his heart, Yang Ming, little friend, I'm sorry. I can only transfer the conflict to you. Otherwise, I would be scolded. Sure enough, Wang Songshan's heaven and earth great shift had transferred the conflict to Yang Ming without leaving a trace. After Wang Ruoshui heard this, she suddenly remembered Yang Ming's various actions of breaking off the engagement. Anger suddenly surged in her heart. Indeed, this kid really doesn't know how to appreciate favors. I kindly wanted to marry my niece to him, but he refused. He even proposed an absurd idea of a martial arts tie to achieve his goal. Then, he helped the butterfly family through the most difficult time. Wang Ruoshui was still grateful to Yang Ming. However, when she thought of Yang Ming's purpose, she didn't feel grateful at all. It was very simple. Yang Ming's purpose was not pure. His purpose of helping the butterfly family was entirely to break off the engagement. Yang Ming, how is my niece not worthy of you? Wang Ruoshui immediately raised her eyebrows at Yang Ming when she thought of this. You tried every means to break off the engagement. Now that you see that my niece is your sweetheart, you don't want to break off the engagement. What's the reason for this? How can the Wang family endure this? Do you think that the butterfly family is so easy to bully? That you can break off the engagement as you wish and marry as you wish? Aren't you looking down on the butterfly family and me, Wang Ruoshui? Who are you relying on to be so arrogant? Wang Songshan didn't expect that his words would cause Wang Ruoshui to be so resentful. He looked at Yang Ming and said in his heart, I'm sorry. I didn't expect my sister to have such a fiery temper. Good luck to you. And Wang Ruoshui's last sentence, whose power did you borrow to be so arrogant, was obviously directed at Fang Tian. As soon as Wang Ruoshui said this, Fang Tian quickly lowered his head and didn't dare to make a sound. Yang Ming cursed in his heart. This woman, Wang Ruoshui, vented all the resentment of the old man on me. Who did I provoke? How could he be so unlucky? He was so fucking unlucky. It seemed that if he didn't use a thunderous method to end the battle quickly, this Wang Ruoshui would always be a big trouble. As long as she thought of this matter in the future, she would use this as an excuse to insult him. How could he endure this? What if she was angry and caught him to compete with her? Would he still be alive? Yang Ming really couldn't do anything to such an old lover of Fang Tian and Wang Xiaoyan's aunt. Originally, Yang Ming had a lot of scruples. Now there was another identity of Wang Xiaoyan's aunt, which was his own aunt. If Yang Ming made a move, other than being beaten up like a punching bag, what else could he expect to fight back? Therefore, Yang Ming must solve this big problem once and for all. Otherwise, he would have a hard time in the future. Of course, once and for all did not mean that he would beat Wang Ruoshui directly because this was impossible. Yang Ming's idea was to make Wang Ruoshui convinced and speechless, and she couldn't find any reason. This was a bit difficult. Yang Ming was best at fighting and killing, but he couldn't use it at this moment. It really gave Yang Ming a headache. Since he couldn't fight, then he would fight with his wits. Yang Ming, why don't you say something? Who are you relying on to dare to bully people like this? Wang Ruoshui saw that Yang Ming didn't speak and his expression was unpredictable, so she snorted and asked. In Wang Ruoshui's opinion, Yang Ming's so-called leverage was only Fang Tian. As long as Yang Ming said Fang Tian's name, then it would be fine. She would take care of Fang Tian together with this old guy. Wang Ruoshui had a deep resentment against Fang Tian. Although she had changed in the past 2 days, how could the resentment in her heart be resolved just like that? Fang Tian was still obedient to her, so she couldn't find a reason to be angry. Wang Ruoshui hoped that Fang Tian could be more unyielding so that she could cry and make a fuss with him. This would be more refreshing. However, Fang Tian didn't let her do as she wished. Therefore, while Wang Ruoshui was teaching Yang Ming a lesson, she deliberately directed the fire to Fang Tian. As long as Yang Ming cooperated, then her anger would be successfully transferred to Fang Tian. As for Yang Ming, he was just an innocent victim. How could Yang Ming understand Wang Ruoshui's complicated thoughts? Seeing that she was staring at him like a tiger watching its prey, Yang Ming was really a little timid. Hearing that she deliberately directed her anger to Fong Tian, Yang Ming thought that she wanted to scold both of them. Thinking of this, Yang Ming thought, Fong Tian is my master no matter what. I usually don't respect him, but at the critical moment, I can't be so unloyal. I can't sell Fong Tian directly. What's more, the relationship between Old Man Fong and Wang Ruoshui was complicated. It had become an established fact that the two of them could finally come together. Therefore, it was difficult to guarantee that if he betrayed Fong Tian now, Fong Tian and Wang Ruoshui would turn around and criticize him in a few days. Right. Thinking of the relationship between Fong Tian and Wang Ruoshui, Yang Ming suddenly had a flash of inspiration. He thought of a solution. Immediately, Yang Ming's mouth drew a beautiful arc. If you want to say who I am relying on, this is not easy to say, right? What's so hard to say? Wang Ruoshui snorted, if you have something to say, just say it. Then. I'm really going to say it. Yang Ming pretended to be nervous and asked, but this is really not easy to say. Yang Ming, hurry up and say it. You're quite a big man. Why are you hesitating? Wang Ruoshui listened to Yang Ming's repeated words and was a little impatient. She glared at him and said angrily. Well, then I'll say it. Yang Ming sighed and shrugged. When Yang Ming spoke, Fong Tian's face immediately turned green. He scolded in his heart. Kid, aren't you too disloyal? Don't you know how to take the blame for your master? You actually want to transfer Wang Ruoshui's anger to me. Aren't you too immoral? What's the use of having a disciple like you? Are you going to say it or not? If you want to say it quickly. Wang Ruoshui said anxiously. In fact, the reason why I am fearless and not worried at all is because the person behind me is simply too powerful. The entire butterfly family doesn't dare to provoke him. Even Uncle Wang, who is the family master, can't do it. Yang Ming said and shook his head, even if you meet him, you have to avoid him. When Yang Ming said this, everyone present was stunned. However, Wang Songshan and Wang Ruoshui's faces immediately showed anger. They also vaguely guessed who Yang Ming's backer was. Could it be the Buffon family? Only the Buffon family's people would not dare to provoke Wang Songshan, who is the family master of the butterfly family, right? However, even so, you said it in front of so many people. Where do you want me, the family master of the butterfly family, to put my face? Where do you place the entire butterfly family in your eyes? Although Wang Ruoshui questioned Yang Ming aggressively before, she didn't have any malicious intentions. She just wanted to deal with Fong Tian together. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that Wang Ruoshui was actually referring to Fong Tian. However, what she didn't expect was that Yang Ming actually pulled out another person. Wasn't this obviously bullying others? Even if the butterfly family really couldn't afford to provoke the Buffon family, he couldn't say that, right? Yang Ming, who is the person you are talking about? Wang Ruoshui's face suddenly turned cold, and her tone became cold. Fong Tian's forehead also had some cold sweat. He thought that Yang Ming was really too young. How could he mention some external forces in this kind of situation? How could the butterfly family endure this? The most anxious person was Wang Xiaoyan. If she offended her father and aunt because of Yang Ming's words, how could she be together with Yang Ming in the future? How could she face her family? Chapter 1449. Thinking of this, Wang Xiaoyan couldn't help but look at Yang Ming worriedly. However, she just happened to meet Yang Ming's mysterious gaze. He winked at her. Wang Xiaoyan was slightly stunned, but she immediately understood the meaning of Yang Ming's words. She couldn't help but chuckle. It turned out that Yang Ming had his own plans. if you want to talk about my biggest reliance, it's actually my master's wife. Once my master's wife appears, who can compete with her? Even my master became a softie in an instant. That's the king of assassins, ah. Even he has to retreat. Yang Ming shook his head and said, "Your master's wife." Wang Ruoshui's expression froze instantly. She looked at Yang Ming in astonishment. "Who is your master's wife?" It was no wonder that Wang Ruoshui was puzzled. Yang Ming's master was Fang Tian, but where did Yang Ming have a master's wife? One of Fang Tian's wives had been dead for a long time, and the other had been caught for a long time. It seemed that the one who was caught also died later. Then, where did Yang Ming, the master's wife, come from? Pfft. Wang Ruoshui was confused by the situation, but Wang Songshan was a bystander. When he saw Yang Ming's fearless and proud look, he immediately understood who the so-called master's wife was. He couldn't help but laugh. "Sure enough, it's your master's wife. Even I have to retreat." Sure enough, sure enough. When Fang Tian, the old wretch, heard Yang Ming's words for the first time, he was also somewhat baffled. He was thinking about how Yang Ming had another master besides his own master. It was no wonder that Fang Tian would think so, because Fang Tian knew very well whether he had a wife or not. So, he was naturally surprised that Yang Ming had a master's wife that he didn't know about. However, after Wang Songshan laughed, Fang Tian also reacted. These two old guys had been friends for life, and they had a tacit understanding. So, when Wang Songshan laughed, Fang Tian understood and laughed with Wang Songshan. He didn't care about Yang Ming calling him a coward because in front of this master's wife, so what if he was a coward? What are you two laughing at? Wang Ruoshui was even more inexplicable by Wang Songshan and Fang Tian's laughter. She couldn't help but point at Wang Songshan and Fang Tian angrily. Don't you feel ashamed that you are being scolded as the family master? You retreat when you see a woman. You still have the heart to laugh. And you, I scolded you for being a coward when you see that woman, and you still have the face to laugh. You too. Really? 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 What should I say? Now that I've been scolded by you, shouldn't I retreat? So what if I'm the family master? Don't you still dare to teach me a lesson? Wang Songshan smiled bitterly. Me too. After being scolded by you, I didn't even dare to talk back. I didn't even dare to raise my head. If I'm not a coward, what am I? Fang Tian also smiled bitterly. That's because you are in front of me. But that master's wife. Wang Ruoshui suddenly stopped when she said this, and then her face suddenly turned red. At this moment, she finally understood who the master's wife that Yang Ming was talking about was. No wonder Wang Songshan and Fang Tian suddenly laughed. No wonder they said those two strange words afterward. It turns out that the master's wife is actually me. Thinking of her relationship with Fang Tian, Wang Ruoshui also understood that the two of them would be together sooner or later. However, being called master's wife by Yang Ming in public, Wang Ruoshui couldn't help but blush even though she was already so old. Although Wang Ruoshui was no longer an inexperienced little girl, her mood with Fang Tian at this moment was no different from a little girl in love. For a moment, she was happy and annoyed. Originally, although her relationship with Fang Tian seemed to have eased, there always seemed to be a gap between them. This was also the reason why Wang Ruoshui took the opportunity to quarrel with Fang Tian. However, when Yang Ming exposed each other's identity in front of her brother and niece, Wang Ruoshui only felt that she was suddenly enlightened. The resentment and unhappiness that had been accumulating in her heart all disappeared in an instant. And all this was just because of Yang Ming's master's wife. Yes, I'm with Fang Tian. Am I not this kid's master's wife? It's not an exaggeration to say that this kid is relying on my power. In this butterfly family, even my brother, the current family master, has to give in to me, right? As for his master Fong Tian, so what if he is a little cowardly in front of me? That's normal. Wang Ruoshui's mind was filled with thoughts. Her original anger had turned into gentleness. She no longer hated Yang Ming as before. Now, she liked him no matter how she looked at him. Because of the title of master's wife, it also made Wang Ruoshui's mentality and identity change greatly. Yes, I'm this kid's master's wife. How can I make things difficult for him? Instead, he should be helping him. Since he and my niece are in love, I'll just fulfill their wish. Master's wife, I'll make up for this apprenticeship gift later, but you can't find your disciple to compete with. How can I be your opponent? Yang Ming climbed up the pole and laughed. Besides, if master's wife fights with me, isn't it bullying? Wang Ruoshui's mind was in a mess because of Yang Ming. She no longer cared about teaching Yang Ming a lesson. Her face was burning as she turned around. You guys talk first. I'm going to rest for a while. After that, Wang Ruoshui didn't care about what the others present thought. She turned around and walked quickly to the entrance of the restaurant. Master, why don't you hurry up and seize the opportunity? Yang Ming smiled wretchedly at the wretched Fong Tian and reminded him. I'm going to rest for a while. You guys talk first. How could Fong Tian not understand Yang Ming's meaning? He also left a sentence and chased in the direction of Wang Ruoshui. At this point, only Wang Songshan, Yang Ming, and Wang Xiaoyan were left in the restaurant. The three of them looked at each other. In the end, Wang Songshan and Wang Xiaoyan's eyes were focused on Yang Ming, sizing him up. Cough cough, Uncle Wang, Yen, why are you looking at me like this? Yang Ming was a little scared by the two people looking at him. Little friend Yang Ming, I didn't expect you to be so quick-witted. Wang Songshan smiled thoughtfully. Your words not only solved your problem, but also your master's problem. You also let Ruoshui and old man Fong remember your kindness. I really can't compare to your scheming. You're really a hero from a young age. Ugh, Uncle Wang, you're overpraising me. Yang Ming sweated. Actually, I was also quick-witted. People are forced. If there wasn't this environment, I wouldn't have thought of it, but no matter what, the matter between you and Yen can be considered settled. Wang Songshan nodded. Right, as for the previous matter, you don't resent me and your master, right? Uncle Wang, you're joking. How can I resent you? Yang Ming smiled bitterly. Forget it. Yen and I can only blame ourselves for the lack of communication. We can't blame others. Dad, you still have the nerve to say that. Wang Xiaoyan was a little dissatisfied. Look at me. The tattoo on my hand is so difficult to clean. I told you to dress up prettily, but you didn't listen. Wang Songshan said innocently. Wang Xiaoyan was speechless. Who dared to dress up prettily before? The butterfly family's banquet became a three-person affair. Only Yang Ming, Wang Songshan, and Wang Xiaoyan were in the dining room. As for where Fong Tian and Wang Ruoshui went, the three of them tacitly didn't ask. They were too lazy to ask. The two of them naturally went to flirt. Has the Lancer family responded? Yang Ming asked. Not yet, but it seems to be a bit difficult for him to personally hand over goods head. Wang Songshan shrugged. Even if I were Thomas, I wouldn't do it. You wouldn't. It doesn't matter. If he doesn't give it to us, we'll take it ourselves in a few days. Yang Ming smiled and said lightly. That's right. Isn't it easy to kill good? Wang Songshan didn't doubt that he or Yang Ming had the ability to take good's head. The Lancer family had now become a stray dog. Wang Songshan no longer had the cautious feeling he used to have. The only constraint, the supply of firearms, had been solved. In Wang Songshan's view, the Lancer family was nothing. Chapter 1450. At noon, Chen Fei brought the results of the appraisal over. It could be seen that Chen Fei attached great importance to this matter. The speed was so fast that both Bao Sanli and Jing Xiaolu were a little surprised. Jing Xiaolu took a deep breath nervously. Although she had long expected that the results of the appraisal should be similar to her own guess, everything was unpredictable. No one could guarantee that there would be no accidents, so Jing Xiaolu was still very nervous at the moment. Bao Sanli was not relaxed. Yang Ming was not at home, and there was a big mistake. Although this matter was led by Jing Xiaolu, he was the general manager. He was responsible for checking, not to mention that he was the one who signed the contract in the end. When it came to responsibility, he was responsible for most of it. Previously, there was an incident where several of his loyal team members absconded with funds, which made Bao Sanli feel fear and trepidation for a while. Although Yang Ming did not continue to hold on to this matter, Bao Sanli felt uncomfortable in his heart. Therefore, he was afraid that he would do something wrong again. However, what he was afraid of would happen. He was already very careful, and suddenly a pie fell from the sky and ushered in a cooperation with the Jiangyan company. He thought that if he facilitated this business, he could show his face in front of Yang Ming and make a contribution, which could be regarded as making up for his mistakes. However, the idea was good, but he did not expect to be set up by the other party just after signing the contract. Therefore, the fingerprint identification at this moment became the key to whether the whole thing could be solved. If it was really as Jing Xiaolu guessed, she had evidence in her hands. If she negotiated with the Jiangyan company again, then she had a bargaining chip. Even if the other party did not agree to change the contract, it could be solved by legal means. Director Chen, how is it? Jing Xiaolu stood up anxiously and looked at the report that Chen Fei brought in. Vice President Jing, as you expected, Su Xiaobin's fingerprints are not on the problematic page. Chen Fei handed the appraisal report in his hand to Bao Sanli and turned to smile at Jing Xiaolu. For Jing Xiaolu, this girl, Chen Fei, was quite appreciative. From the beginning, he thought that she was a person who relied on connections to get to the top. The appraisal report explained all this. Jing Xiaolu was a very capable person. Really? Jing Xiaolu took the identification report from Chen Fei. When she saw the fingerprint identification results, she finally breathed a sigh of relief. The big stone in her heart was finally lifted. As long as he had this report, everything would be fine. Of course it's true. You have the potential to be a criminal police officer. Chen Fei smiled and commented to Jing Xiaolu. But after he finished speaking, he felt that something was wrong. Although Jing Xiaolu was young, she was a vice president. It was a bit inappropriate for him to speak like an elder. In this world, ability came first, and age was secondary. So, he said awkwardly, Vice President Jing, I'm sorry. I unconsciously thought of you as a child. You're about the same age as my daughter, so I casually said. It's okay. Why would Jing Xiaolu care about this? Jing Xiaolu was very happy that Chen Fei treated her as a child. Otherwise, it would be awkward if she and Chen Mengyan were sisters, but Chen Fei kept calling her Director Chen and Vice President Jing. So, Jing Xiaolu waved her hand again and again. Actually, Sister Mengyan and I are classmates. We have a good relationship. If you call me Vice President Jing, I still feel not used to it. Why don't you call me Xiaolu, and I'll call you Uncle Chin. Oh. You and Mengyan are good friends. Chen Fei was slightly stunned. He glanced at Jing Xiaolu thoughtfully. It had to be said that Chen Fei's observation ability was very sharp. From Jing Xiaolu's call of Sister Meng Yan, he heard some problems. Since Ming Yang Company was actually a company controlled by Yang Ming behind the scenes, and Jing Xiaolu worked here as a vice president, and she and his daughter Chen Mengyan were classmates, then she must be very familiar with Yang Ming. And the way she called Chen Mengyan. All this could prove that this girl seemed to have a deep relationship with Yang Ming. Yeah. Jing Xiaolu didn't put up any defenses. Although she was quite scheming, she didn't expect Chen Fei to have found some problems at this moment. Sister Mengyan and I are very good. We often go out shopping together. Chen Fei nodded and smiled slightly. Well, I will call you Xiaolu in the future. You can call me Uncle Chen. You don't have to be so polite. Chen Fei probably figured out the relationship between Jing Xiaolu and Yang Ming. Although he was a little uncomfortable, he wasn't too angry. Chen Fei was very clear about the women around Yang Ming. In addition to his daughter Chen Mengyan, there was also Lin Jiyun and Zhou Jijia. It was a ridiculous thing for his daughter to share a husband with another woman. Naturally, Chen Fei would not agree to it. However, Lin Jiyun and Zhou Jijia were too special. They were so special that it was difficult for Chen Fei to say anything dissatisfied. Chen Fei could be said to be clear about the grievances between Lin Jiyun and Yang Ming. This case was handled by Chen Fei personally. Chen Fei was very clear about how Yang Ming was inexplicably framed, and Lin Jiyun was also involved. Therefore, the whole thing could be said that both Yang Ming and Lin Jiyun were victims. Lin Jiyun finally gave up pursuing Yang Ming's responsibility and closed the case, which also allowed Yang Ming to escape a disaster. Otherwise, at this moment, Yang Ming might have spent his time in prison. Although Lin Jiyun's reason was ridiculous, saying that the two of them were originally boyfriend and girlfriend, and that she reported the case because of a quarrel. If this was spread out, it was probably a bit outrageous. However, it was precisely because of Lin Jiyun's final attitude that Yang Ming was saved. Therefore, Chen Fei really couldn't say anything about Lin Jiyun reappearing at Yang Ming's side during the university. Chen Fei gave all the decision-making rights to his daughter, Chen Mengyan. As long as his daughter didn't say anything, Chen Fei wouldn't say anything. Anyway, they were still young, right? As for Zhou Jijia, who appeared later, Chen Fei had nothing to interfere with. This girl's heroic deeds and methods made Chen Fei, a man of iron, unable to hold back his tears. More importantly, Zhou Jijia was injured because of Yang Ming, and it was entirely because of his case. If he didn't send Zhou Jijia to Wang Shifan's house to be an undercover, how could Zhou Jijia be in danger? How could she take a bullet for Yang Ming? Therefore, for this girl who helped him solve a big case and took a bullet for Yang Ming, Chen Fei really couldn't say anything. He couldn't say a word. He couldn't say anything. As a person, one shouldn't be ungrateful. If he had an opinion on Zhou Jijia, then he would be ungrateful. Letting Yang Ming leave Zhou Jijia was also ungrateful. In a dilemma, Chen Fei chose to be silent. As long as his daughter didn't have an opinion and Chen Mengyan was happy, then everything would be fine. Children and grandchildren would have their own fortune. Chen Fei finally thought it through. Why do I care so much? Isn't it because I'm afraid that Chen Mengyan will suffer? Suffer grievances. Since my daughter didn't say anything, what else can I say? Therefore, for the appearance of Jing Xiaolu, Chen Fei was just uncomfortable, and then he let it go. Since she could become good friends with Chen Mengyan, and listening to her tone, it seemed that she put Chen Mengyan first. Chen Fei wouldn't say anything. Okay, Uncle Chen. Jing Xiaolu's eyes narrowed into a line, and she was delighted. Chen Fei couldn't figure out what Jing Xiaolu was thinking, so he didn't continue this topic. Do you need my help with the rest of the matter? I won't trouble you first. Bao Somli knew that this kind of thing would be solved more smoothly if Qin Fei, an official in the judicial world, came forward. However, he wasn't willing to add more trouble to Qin Fei. After all, the other party wasn't a person from Songjiang City, but a person from Jiangyan City. Moreover, it was the largest private enterprise in the province. No one would believe that they didn't have a background and connections. Therefore, even if Qin Fei came forward, if the other party used a bigger background to suppress Qin Fei, it would create trouble for Qin Fei. The other party is a person from the Jiangyan group. It's not so easy to be coerced, so it's better to negotiate through normal means first. If it really doesn't work, then we'll go through legal procedures. All right. If there are any difficulties, call me again. Qin Fei nodded. He knew what Bao Sanli was worried about, but Qin Fei wasn't afraid of anything. It was reasonable for him to intervene. After all, he was in the right. Moreover, the Mingyang Security Company was also a subordinate company of his bureau. It was also his duty. Chapter 1451. What are we going to do next? After leaving the office building of the city police station, Bao Sanli got in the car and asked Jing Xiaolu in the driver's seat. Bao Sanli was not a person who was greedy for power. Since Qin Fei had a positive attitude toward Jing Xiaolu, it proved that Jing Xiaolu was really capable. If he couldn't solve it himself, then it was fine to give the leadership to Jing Xiaolu. What's more, this was Brother Yang's woman, which was his sister-in-law. Bao Sanli didn't feel that he would lose face. Previously, Jing Xiaolu was promoted to the position of vice president because of Yang Ming. The other reason was that two of the company's vice presidents ran away, and there was a vacancy, so Jing Xiaolu could be promoted smoothly. But for Jing Xiaolu's ability, he didn't take it too seriously. However, yesterday, Jing Xiaolu suddenly found a flaw in the contract, and it was confirmed today. Bao Sanli thoroughly admired Jing Xiaolu, this young girl. Let's try to contact the people of the Jiangyan group first. Jing Xiaolu thought about it and said, I will go to Su Xiaobin in a while and go to Jiangyan City with him to contact the senior management of the Jiangyan group. We have evidence in hand. I am not afraid that he won't admit it. All right, but if you go alone as a girl? Bao Sanli asked with some concern. It's okay. I will go with Su Xiaobin. Besides, it's a negotiation, not a fight. I think a big company like the Jiangyan group won't use some underhanded means, said Jing Xiaolu. Speaking of underhanded means, they have already used it. Bao Sanli disagreed. They can do things like using incense before. What else can't they do? I think we have to guard against it. As soon as Bao Sanli's words reminded Jing Xiaolu, her heart suddenly trembled. Yes, the Jiangyan group may not play these underhanded means, but there is one person who can't be sure. That is Lu Jifei. Now Lu Jifei is at the Jiangyan group's headquarters. If I go, it is not impossible for this kid to make trouble. Thinking of this, Jing Xiaolu suddenly hesitated. Xiaolu, how about this? I will take a few people with you. Although we are not familiar with this place, we are not easy to bully. The other party will not dare to act rashly. Bao Sanli said. All right, that's all we can do. However, unless we have no other choice, we must not take the initiative to look for trouble. Otherwise, we will definitely be at a disadvantage in the other party's territory. Jing Xiaolu thought about it and agreed. After all, she was also afraid that Lu Jifei would play some tricks. Then, she wouldn't be able to deal with it. After Bao Sanli returned to the company, he didn't stay any longer. He gathered Bai Hai, Di Lei, and others and rushed to Jiangyan City with Jing Xiaolu. On the highway, a BMW X5 was followed by a Jinbei commercial van. The two cars quickly headed for Jiangyan City. Jing Xiaolu drove Yang Ming's BMW this time, not her own. It was because Yang Ming's car had an official pass, which allowed him to avoid some traffic control in the province and save him a lot of trouble. The speed of the two cars was very fast, but when the traffic police saw the pass in Jing Xiaolu's car, they let them go smoothly. It could be seen that this small pass was very useful. However, if this thing was compared to Yang Ming's Supernatural Investigation Bureau ID, it would pale in comparison. Yang Ming's ID was the real all-purpose pass. This was also the first time that Su Xiaobin saw the power of the Mingyang Security Company. Although they were in Songjiang, they could even get a pass issued by the Donghai province. The background behind the Mingyang Security Company could be seen. However, he didn't know that the actual owner of this car was Yang Ming. If Yang Ming didn't have a special identity as a special consultant of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, this kind of pass, which was rare in the province, couldn't be issued to Yang Ming. However, in Su Xiaobin's eyes, it was a little different. He was secretly worried about the Jiangyan group this time, and he was somewhat fortunate. It seems that the Mingyang Security Company not only has local power, but it must also have a considerable background in the province. This time, he was on the same side as the Mingyang Security Company. If this matter was solved smoothly, then the Mingyang Security Company would definitely not let him suffer a loss. The newly established escort company would have a position for him. If this matter was not solved smoothly, Su Xiaobin also thought it through. At most, he would just resign. Fuck his uncle. The hatred between Lu Jifei and me has reached the point where it can't be reconciled. Even if I can't beat him, even if I hide and bear with it, Lu Jifei may not let me go. At that time, it was possible for him to use his position to make things difficult for me. Maybe, it was possible for him to make false accounts and put me in prison. For a guy like Lu Jifei, what couldn't he do? Therefore, Su Xiaobin simply thought that if the matter couldn't be solved, then he would just resign. He believed that at that time, there would still be a place for him in the Mingyang Company. People like Jing Xiaolu and Bao Sanli, who were loyal, would not ignore him. Therefore, this matter was not necessarily a bad thing, but he did suffer a loss because Lu Jifei took advantage of his wife for nothing. Thinking of this, Su Xiaobin couldn't help but sigh. It's really suffocating for a man to reach this point. He was cuckolded, but he didn't dare to say anything. In the end, he still didn't have the ability. If he had enough ability and strength, what was Lu Jifei? Looking at Su Xiaobin sighing on the side, Bao Sanli seemed to understand what he was worried about. He patted his shoulder comfortingly and said, "President Su, don't worry. Don't think so much. Whether this matter can be solved or not, we will accept your invitation. If you can't come to our company, we can't give you the position of vice president, but we can still give you the position of department manager. At least it is much better than your previous office manager." "Thank you." Su Xiaobin nodded gratefully. "President Bao, with your words, I am relieved. I can also arrange for your girlfriend to enter the company and do a clerical job. Don't have any burden on your mind." Bao Sanli said with a smile. "Then, I will thank you on behalf of Wang Lixia first." Su Xiaobin didn't expect Bao Sanli to remember his girlfriend, and he was even more grateful. The group finally arrived at Jiangyan City before sunset and parked the car in the parking lot of the Jiangyan group. Looking at the magnificent building in front of him, Bao Sanli couldn't help but sigh. The gap between me and others is really not small. My Mingyang Security and Mingyang Entertainment are also one of the largest companies in Songjiang, but compared with others, they are not worth mentioning. Such a magnificent aura and such a majestic building made Bao Sanli feel a lot of pressure. It seems that I still need to work hard. I am a frog in the well, and I will never be able to achieve great things. This time, it was not necessarily a bad thing. It also made Bao Sonli clear what a big company and a big group was. What do you want? Before Jing Xiaolu and her group entered the lobby of the building, they were stopped by the security guard at the door and asked. Originally, if there were only 1 or 2 people, the security guard would not ask but directly let them in. After entering the lobby of the building, the front desk reception would be responsible for the inquiry. However, Jing Xiaolu's group was too many, and there were several strong men, which made the security guard vigilant. I am Su Xiaobin, the manager of the group's Songjiang office. This is my ID card. Su Xiaobin took out a card and handed it to the security guard who stopped them. Then he said, "These are the company's partners. I want to take them to see President Liu." Chapter 1452. After checking Su Xiaobin's ID card and confirming that there was no problem, he glanced at the license plate of Jing Xiaolu and the others. After confirming that they were from Songjiang, he nodded and let them go. Especially when he saw the license plate number of the BMW X5 that Jing Xiaolu drove, he couldn't help but be a little moved. Song B88 B88. These people had the strength to become the company's partners, so his attitude was better. "Everyone, please, but you need to register with me at the front desk first," said the security guard. "No problem." Su Xiaobin nodded and took Jing Xiaolu and the others into the company lobby. After a simple registration, Su Xiaobin took Jing Xiaolu and the others to the elevator, but the elevator door opened unexpectedly. Lu Jifei was accompanying a man to walk out of the elevator. On Lu Jifei's face was a flattering slave, while the other man on the side was walking elegantly in front. For Lu Jifei's words, this man seemed to not listen at all. He had a high and arrogant attitude. "Su Xiaobin, why are you here again? Didn't I ask you to go back to Songjiang?" The moment the man walked out of the elevator, he also saw Su Xiaobin outside and frowned. "You are the group Songjiang office manager. How can you leave your post? You are malfeasance." "Vice President Liu." Su Xiaobin's expression was stagnant. Previously, when he came to the group's headquarters and handed over the phone recording to Lu Zhenan deleted the recording. He didn't think much about it, but after going back and going through Jing Xiaolu's analysis, Su Xiaobin began to suspect that there was something fishy between Lu Zhenan and Lu Jifei. Now that he saw Lu Zhenan and Lu Jifei walking together, and Lu Jifei flattering Lu Zhenan with a smile, Su Xiaobin's heart suddenly thumped. It seems that Jing Xiaolu is right. Lu Zhenan is simply biased towards Lu Jifei. What's stabilizing the overall situation and internal unity? It's all nonsense. I was almost fooled by these two bastards. Thinking of this, Su Xiaobin's heart was filled with anger, and his tone became cold. "Vice President Liu, these people are from the Songjiang Mingyang Security Company. They have important things to report to the group's senior management." "Oh." Lu Zhenan didn't expect that the people brought by Su Xiaobin were actually from the Mingyang Security Company. He snorted coldly in his heart. This Su Xiaobin has probably discovered that I am protecting Lu Jifei, and he has begun to betray me. He actually brought the people of the Mingyang Security Company to the headquarters to report the situation. What was his intention? However, Lu Zhenan, a child of a big family, was usually arrogant. He didn't put the Mingyang Security Company in his eyes at all. It was true that the other party might be one of the top companies in the local city, but in the eyes of a behemoth like the Jiangyan Group, it was not worth mentioning. He glanced at Bao Sonli and the others coldly and arrogantly. His gaze only stayed on Jing Xiaolu for a few seconds because only Jing Xiaolu made him interested. This is a beautiful woman. If I can get her into my bed. With this idea, Lu Zhenan planned to feel out Jing Xiaolu's background later to see if he could get her. "Are you from the Mingyang Company?" Lu Jianan asked faintly, do you have any business? This arrogant attitude made Bao Sanli so angry that he really wanted to beat him up. Isn't this guy asking for a beating? Who does he think he is? However, for the sake of the overall situation, Bao Sanli still had to say calmly, Vice President Lu, right? I'm the general manager of the Mingyang Security Company, Bao Sanli. Should we find a quiet place to talk in detail? Bao Sanli's words were very clear. We have important things to talk about with you. Of course, we can't talk about it while standing at the elevator door. If we really show the evidence in public, I don't think it will look good on anyone's face. However, Lu Jianan didn't seem to appreciate it at all. He didn't understand, or he didn't bother to respond even if he understood. He just said faintly, if there's anything, just say it here. I'll give you 10 minutes. I still have to eat. Su Xiaobin, fuck your father. You're a traitor. What is your intention to bring the people of the Mingyang Company to the headquarters? Lu Jifei jumped out without waiting for Bao Sanli and Su Xiaobin to respond. As a dog, he was very qualified. The moment his master's voice fell, he ran out to bite. Do you not want to work anymore? Lu Jianan naturally couldn't say such vulgar words. Although he was a narrow-minded person, he was very hypocritical in public and would not easily slander his own reputation. However, Lu Jifei spoke up for him, which made Lu Jianan appreciate him very much. He cast an affirmative look at Lu Jifei, and his satisfaction with Lu Jifei, this lackey, was even higher. Lu Jifei was stimulated by Lu Jianan's approving gaze. He was even more arrogant as if he was injected with hormones. And you, Jing Xiaolu, you smelly bitch. I don't know how you got a nouveau riche, but you don't know what to do. Do you think you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth after becoming a vice president? Fuck. I tell you, my backer is Lu Jianan, President Lu. If I want to play you to death, it's just a matter of minutes. Do you know who our brother Nan is? He is the grandson of the group's chairman, Old Master Lu. Lu Jifei had Lu Jianan's support, so he was not afraid of Su Xiaobin, Bao Sanli, Jing Xiaolu, and the others. Especially after knowing that Lu Jianan deleted the phone recording in Su Xiaobin's hand, he was even more fearless. His ability to observe people's expressions was better. When he saw Lu Jifei's eyes, he glanced at Bao Sanli and the others contemptuously, but his eyes stayed on Jing Xiaolu for a long time. Moreover, his eyes changed from contempt to desire. As a man, Lu Jifei knew very well under what circumstances a man would have this kind of look, so Lu Jianan was undoubtedly interested in Jing Xiaolu. Well, since I can't bite this tough bone, then I will let Lu Jianan, a person with a big background, bite it. It is also my revenge. Moreover, I pointed out Jing Xiaolu's background in time, and I can also win Lu Jianan's favor. When Lu Jianan heard Lu Jifei's brief description of Jing Xiaolu's background, he felt that Lu Jifei was a talent. He was good at dealing with people, and he had good judgment. When I just became interested in Jing Xiaolu, he could detect it. He also pointed out Jing Xiaolu's background very cooperatively. It seems that I have to promote him in the future. The previous suspicion of Jing Xiaolu was completely thrown to the back of his mind. It turned out that she was just a woman who sold her body. Such a woman was the easiest to get. As long as I gave her a lot of benefits, would I be afraid that she would not take the initiative to run into my arms? What are you talking about? Kid, if you have the guts, say what you said before again. Otherwise, apologize to me immediately. Otherwise, do you believe that I will kill you? When Bai Hai saw Jing Xiaolu being scolded, he was immediately unwilling. He knew the relationship between Jing Xiaolu and Yang Ming. The reason why he could have his current status like a rocket was because Gu Xinyao, Jing Xiaolu, and Lin Jiyun were good friends. So, when Jing Xiaolu was bullied, he was naturally the first to stand up. Who are you? Lu Jifei glanced at Bai Hai and looked at Bao Sanli sarcastically. President Bao, right? Look at what kind of people are in your company. What are their qualities? Are they threatening people? Bai Hai. Bao Sanli took a deep breath and yelled at Bai Hai. The humiliation he suffered today, he would definitely return it back in the future. But now, after all, they were in someone else's territory. A little impatience would spoil the big plan. Yang Ming was not at home to preside over the overall situation, so Bao Sanli did not allow any accidents. So, at this moment, he could only bear it. President Lu, the person next to you is not a high-quality talent, right? He keeps saying that he brings his mother with him. He doesn't seem to be much better than our people. Ha! Who told you that he is a person? He's my dog. Lu Jinan laughed after listening to Bao Sanli's words. Do you expect a dog to follow the rules? Bao Sanli, Jing Xiaolu, and Bai Hai, including Su Xiaobin, were all stunned. They didn't expect Lu Jinan to explain Lu Jifei like this. As for Bao Sanli, he couldn't say this. Bai Hai was his brother and friend. Although they had a superior and subordinate relationship, he couldn't be said to be a dog. If Bao Sanli or Bai Hai were Yang Ming's dog, it would be fine because it was not an insult, but a kind of glory. However, Lu Jinan obviously did not have that kind of height. He was just an idiot. Bao Sanli felt that he didn't even have the qualifications to be Brother Yang's dog, so he despised Lu Jifei, who was even more of an idiot who flattered. Sure enough, not only was Lu Jifei not angry, but he looked like a subservient Pekingese dog. The only thing missing was a woof woof. He also made an obscene gesture to Su Xiaobin and mouthed something. Su Xiaobin saw the mouth shape very clearly. It was his girlfriend, Zhang Lixia. Who? Su Xiaobin's breathing became hurried, and he clenched his fists. He couldn't wait to punch Lu Jifei to death on the spot, but he knew that Lu Jifei was under Lu Jinan's protection, so he couldn't move at all. If this was in Songjiang, I would have beaten him until his father couldn't recognize him. No, I would beat his father too. Bai Hai gritted his teeth fiercely. He looked at the backs of Lu Jinan and Lu Jifei and scolded heavily. It seems that Lu Jinan is most likely not going to talk to us face to face. Jing Xiaolu frowned. I'm most afraid that he will use this trick. If he can really sit down and talk to us face to face, I believe that we have a 90% chance of persuading him to change the contract. After all, if this matter goes to court, not to mention the outcome, it will still have a great impact on the reputation of the Jiangyan Group. But now, he doesn't give us this opportunity. He obviously doesn't put us in his eyes. Vice President Lu is like this. Su Xiaobin smiled bitterly. However, the Jiangyan Group is not necessarily a monolithic block. Since he doesn't cooperate, we can still find someone else. Vice President Jing also said before. Now, the attitude of Lu Jifei and Lu Jinan pushed Su Xiaobin to Bao Sanli's side. Originally, there were some words that Su Xiaobin of the Jiangyan Group couldn't say. After all, the previous resentment with Lu Jifei was only a personal grudge, and it was not to the extent of implicating the entire company. However, Lu Jinan's current actions completely broke Su Xiaobin's heart, so he said these words. Oh. Jing Xiaolu was slightly stunned, and then she said happily, President Su, do you mean that in addition to Lu Jinan, there are other people in charge of the Jiangyan Group, or people with enough weight who can solve this matter? Previously, Jing Xiaolu also collected information about the Lu family from the internet, but it was only on the internet. There was no way to verify whether it was true or false. However, with Su Xiaobin, a member of the family, leading the way, it could save a lot of trouble. Lu Huamei, the daughter of the Lu family's first branch, is now very disagreeable with Lu Jinan. If we can get her support, I believe this matter will be half solved. Su Xiaobin said. Also, Lu Zhiqiao is also possible. Although he is Lu Jinan's younger brother, the two brothers have always had conflicts. So, are we going to find Lu Huamei or Lu Zhiqiao now? Jing Xiaolu asked with bright eyes. These two are not my direct leaders. Although I have seen them, I have never talked to them. It's hard to say whether I can contact them. Su Xiaobin smiled bitterly. However, we can only try now. Sorry to trouble you. Jing Xiaolu nodded gratefully. Legal means were the last resort. Jing Xiaolu was not completely sure whether she could win the lawsuit. After all, the evidence in hand now was auxiliary evidence, there was no direct evidence. If this lawsuit was filed in Songjiang, the Mingyang company still had full confidence with Qin Fei's support. However, if it was in Jiangyan, the Jiangyan Group's territory, whether it was the Jiangyan Group's background or local protectionism, it was beyond the Mingyang company's reach. Even if this lawsuit could be won in the end, the Mingyang company couldn't afford to drag it out. Therefore, it was the best way to solve it peacefully. As for other means, Bao Sonli really didn't dare to act rashly. The Jiangyan Group's power in Jiangyan City was obviously not to be trifled with. It was simply a fool's dream for a few people to cross the river fiercely. Excuse me, what is the phone number of Director Liu of the Finance Department? Su Xiaobin turned to the front desk and asked the lady at the front desk. Please wait a moment, Mr. Su. The lady at the front desk quickly checked the number and said, the extension number is 6011. Do you need me to connect it for you? Okay. Su Xiaobin nodded and took the extension number that the lady at the front desk connected. Hello, I'm Lu Huamei. Lu Huamei frowned as she looked at the financial statement in her hand. This month, Lu Jinan had obviously signed more accounts for reimbursement. Lu Huamei really couldn't say anything to her big brother. If it weren't for the strong support of the old man, the position of director of the finance department would have been replaced by Lu Jinan's confidant. Even if Lu Huamei had some restrictions on Lu Jinan in this position, Lu Jinan could always find some loopholes to take advantage of. For example, the vice president's reimbursement could not exceed 100,000 yuan. However, there was no limit to the number of transactions. This resulted in Lu Jinan being able to split one transaction into several transactions. This allowed him to consolidate the power in his hands and directly digest some of the transactions that originally required the signature of the chief financial officer before they could be reported. Chapter 1454. Lu Huamei had only discovered this loophole recently. Lu Jinan wasn't so unscrupulous before, and he didn't violate any rules. It was only in the past month that he began to open orders. If there wasn't any expert behind this, then with her elder brother's IQ. Lu Huamei smiled disdainfully. Does he think that I can't see through such a low-level trick? Lu Huamei decided to mention this loophole at the next board meeting to remedy it and stop Lu Jinan's path. While thinking about the wording of the meeting, the phone rang. Lu Huamei picked up the phone politely out of habit. Although she still had things on her mind at the moment and didn't want to be distracted by other things, her tone of voice wasn't affected at all. Director Lu, I'm Su Xiaobin, the person in charge of the group's Songjiang office. Are you free now? Su Xiaobin asked carefully. Songjiang office. Su Xiaobin. Lu Huamei was stunned. She had already searched for this name in her mind in an instant, but she had no impression of it. She shouldn't have dealt with him before. Moreover, the office wasn't managed by her. Theoretically speaking, she shouldn't have any business relationship with this person named Su Xiaobin. However, since the other party had clearly found her and was an internal member of the group, Lu Huamei naturally wouldn't ignore it. Excuse me, is there anything I can help you with? Director Lu, it's like this. Our group has cooperated with a local security company in Songjiang. The other party has a lot of dissatisfaction with our company in terms of the contract, and they want to reflect it to the group's senior management. Su Xiaobin said carefully. Oh. Lu Huamei had heard that the group had recently cooperated with a local security company in Songjiang and established a new banknote escort company. However, why did the other party look for her to reflect the problem? She was the director of the finance department and was responsible for the company's finance. Even if there was a problem, she should reflect it to the president or vice president, right? Hearing the doubts in Lu Huamei's words, Su Xiaobin quickly explained, Director Lu, are you free now? There are some things that can only be explained clearly in person. Su Xiaobin deliberately emphasized the word in person and emphasized on it. He believed that with Lu Huamei's intelligence, it wouldn't be difficult to hear the problem contained in it. Sure enough, Lu Huamei raised her eyebrows after hearing Su Xiaobin's words. She was keenly aware of something strange. Su Xiaobin, as the company's office manager, didn't look for Lu Jinan or Lu Hua to reflect the situation, but he looked for her. It was impossible that this didn't explain anything. All right, come up. I'll wait for you in the office. Lu Huamei hesitated for a moment before agreeing. Although she didn't want to have a direct conflict with Lu Huan's family, recently, her uncle and two cousins were getting more and more overboard. Lu Huamei couldn't bear it anymore. She didn't even hesitate to harm the company's interests to go against her. Lu Huamei could understand if they were fighting openly and secretly without harming the family's interests. She had grown up in such a family and was used to it. Lu Huamei could not tolerate Lu Hua wanting to push her out of the Jiangyan group. Lu Huamei could not tolerate it. Lu Huamei could not accept it. If grandfather wasn't still alive, I'm afraid that I would be. Lu Huamei sighed. Her father was lying in the hospital, and his life was uncertain. Her mother was a weak woman, but she stayed by her father's bedside and cried every day. This family could only be supported by herself. Lu Huamei didn't want anything else but to fight for her dignity. She was also a member of the Lu family and the eldest granddaughter of the eldest son. Why couldn't she have a place in the Jiangyan group? However, the current situation was not optimistic. No matter how strong Lu Huamei was, her current position was maintained by Lu Jiangyan's support. Even if Lu Jiangyan died today, it was estimated that Lu Huamei would be removed from the position of chief financial officer tomorrow. Sometimes, Lu Huamei really felt mentally and physically exhausted, but there was no other way. Sometimes, you didn't want to fight for power and only wanted to take back what belonged to you. However, the other party wanted to kill you. Lu Huamei smiled bitterly. If it weren't for her being too strong and amazing, would Lu Hua's family still treat her like this? However, if she acted a little cowardly, she might not even be able to keep her shares, right? Lu Huamei was keenly aware of something after listening to Su Xiaobin's words. Su Xiaobin probably ran into a wall through normal channels. He only came to her because he had no other choice. Lu Huamei could guess that Su Xiaobin was using her discord with Lu Hua's family to get her to help him. However, so what if she knew? If what Su Xiaobin was reporting was really a big deal for the company, then Lu Huamei would stand up without hesitation even if she knew that she was being used. This was the fundamental difference between her and Lu Jinan. Lu Huamei's starting point was for the good of the company. She was fundamentally different from Lu Hua, Lu Jinan, and Lu Zhiqiao. This was also one of the reasons why Old Master Lu Jiangyan supported Lu Huamei. It wasn't just because of Lu Huamei's intelligence. No matter how smart she was, Old Master Lu Jiangyan wouldn't be assured to hand over the foundation that he had worked hard for half of his life to her if it was for himself. Dang dang dang. There was a clear knock on the door. Lu Huamei put the report in her hand in the drawer, then raised her head and said to the person outside, "Please come in." Director Lu. Su Xiaobin walked in respectfully with Jing Xiaolu and Bao Sanli. As for Bai Hai and the others, they stayed in the lounge next to the company lobby. The reason why he brought so many people before was to prevent Lu Jinan from playing any tricks. However, since the target had become Lu Huamei, Su Xiaobin naturally heard a lot of rumors about this talented woman who was devoted to the public interest. Therefore, he didn't need to bring so many people up. That would be bad. It would make Lu Huamei feel that their intentions were impure, which would be disadvantageous to the situation. Su Xiaobin didn't dare to underestimate the little girl in front of him who might not even be 20 years old. Age didn't matter, ability came first. Su Xiaobin introduced carefully, "I'm Su Xiaobin, the person in charge of the group's Songjiang office. This is the general manager of Songjiang Mingyang Security Company, Bao Sanli. This is the vice president, Jing Xiaolu." Oh. Lu Huamei didn't expect the other party to have a general manager and a vice president. This lineup was really strong. Lu Huamei had investigated the Songjiang Mingyang Security Company before. Although Lu Huamei didn't pay too much attention to this local tyrant company, she still couldn't underestimate it. Especially since the other party's people were all in charge. Lu Huamei quickly got up to greet them and extended her hand with a smile. "Welcome, welcome, President Bao, Vice President Jing." If Jing Xiaolu was the only one who came, Lu Huamei would naturally omit the word vice president. However, since the other party's general manager was also here, it wasn't good to omit the word vice president. Bao Sanli was very surprised that this legendary director was a little girl around 20 years old. However, he didn't show it. He politely shook hands and said, "Director Lu, sorry to disturb you." Lu Huamei didn't feel anything wrong with Bao Sanli. However, her gaze fell on Jing Xiaolu, and Lu Huamei was shocked. It was already a miracle that she was able to sit in the position of the company's CFO at the age of 20. Moreover, the other party seemed to be around the same age as her. Yet, she was already a vice president. Although the Mingyang Security Company was much smaller than the Jiangyan Group, Lu Huamei intuitively felt that this girl couldn't be underestimated. Could it be that the other party also relied on her father to get her position? However, whether she had the ability or not, she would know in a while. However, Lu Huamei didn't know why, but she had a faint hostility towards Jing Xiaolu, a girl who was also ridiculously beautiful. This hostility didn't mean that she had any opinions about the Mingyang Security Company that Jing Xiaolu represented, but it was only directed at Jing Xiaolu herself. This was purely the jealousy of a beautiful and capable woman when she saw another beautiful and equally capable woman. Otherwise, if Jing Xiaolu spoke up, even if what she said was true, it would be hard to avoid the suspicion of the guilty party complaining first. If Su Xiaobin said it, there would be no such trouble, unless Su Xiaobin had already defected at this moment and stood on the other party's side. Of course, Lu Huamei could also distinguish right from wrong. If Su Xiaobin really reversed the truth, she was not a fool. She could tell it all. It's like this. In fact, the whole story was very simple. Su Xiaobin quickly narrated the whole story. He even said that Lu Jifei used the same method to take advantage of his girlfriend, Wang Lixia, without leaving out a single word. He had already told this matter to Lu Jinan, so he was not afraid to tell others. Moreover, the recording in the phone might be shown as evidence, so he did not hide it. When Lu Huamei heard that Lu Jinan actually rejected Su Xiaobin with such a ridiculous excuse as, "There is no precedent for changing the contract," and deleted the recording evidence in Su Xiaobin's hands, she was immediately furious. Her face was terrifyingly gloomy. This Lu Jinan was not a fool, but he had ulterior motives. Even if this kind of cooperation under unequal interests was barely maintained because of a contract, how could they expect the other party to cooperate sincerely? Wasn't this the same as taking the company's interests and reputation as a joke? Was this Lu Zhenan's head kicked by a donkey? She thought about Lu Zhenan's usual actions. Which one of them was not based on his own interests? When did he care about the company's overall interests? Previously, Lu Huamei thought highly of Jing Xiaolu. Now, she was a little disappointed in Jing Xiaolu. Although it was Lu Jifei's scheme, and it was such an imperceptible underhanded method, Jing Xiaolu still fell for it in the end. Thinking of this, Lu Huamei's evaluation of Jing Xiaolu decreased a few points in her heart. She sighed and said, "Manager Su, do you have any evidence for what you said?" "Yes." Jing Xiaolu smiled slightly. She took out a small recording pen with an external function and pressed the play button. Lu Jifei's voice suddenly came from the phone. "Think about it. If you become my lover, how can I treat you badly?" Lu Huamei's expression changed. She could naturally hear Lu Jifei's voice. Recently, this person suddenly became the favorite of her cousin, Lu Zhenan, who was the vice president. For this reason, Lu Huamei deliberately investigated Lu Jifei, but regretfully found that he was just a playboy who could only please Lu Zhenan. She really didn't know why her cousin would take a fancy to such an idiot and let him follow by his side. Wasn't this recording deleted by my cousin? Why is there still one? Lu Huamei naturally did not forget what Su Xiaobin said before. It was restored from the phone's memory with the help of a computer expert friend of mine. Jing Xiaolu said a little embarrassedly, "At that time, I heard Su Xiaobin say that the recording was deleted, so I tried to find my friend. I didn't expect it to really be restored." Lu Huamei nodded. It seems that this Jing Xiaolu is quite capable. It's not easy for her to think of this. If it were others, they would probably only regret it and not think of using this method. However, this is only supporting evidence. There is no direct evidence to prove that the contract has been tampered with. Lu Huamei leisurely took the recording pen and put it in her hand. Then, she looked up at Jing Xiaolu. In fact, with this recording pen, Lu Huamei was completely confident that she could make things difficult for Lu Zhenan and Lu Jifei during the company's board meeting. As long as her grandfather was involved, this contract would definitely be re-signed, and the previous contract would be invalid. However, Lu Huamei didn't know why she always wanted to test this young girl in front of her to see if she only had this little ability. Lu Huamei would feel better if she was really only young and beautiful, and didn't have outstanding ability. After all, a proud daughter of heaven would definitely feel uncomfortable meeting another proud daughter of heaven. No one would feel good if half of the glory that originally belonged to them was taken away by others. Of course, there are other things. Jing Xiaolu nodded confidently. "Director Lu, I have a fingerprint identification report here. Please take a look." As she spoke, Jing Xiaolu took out a document from the file bag, put it on the coffee table in front of her, and pushed it in front of Lu Huamei. "Oh. Fingerprint identification report." Lu Huamei was slightly stunned. For a moment, she couldn't guess why Jing Xiaolu took out this fingerprint identification report. Lu Huamei frowned. She didn't directly look at the specific content of the report, but she began to secretly compete with Jing Xiaolu in her heart. Since Jing Xiaolu took out such a report at this time, then it must be the key evidence of this entire matter. However, what evidence is it? Lu Huamei fell into deep thought. She quickly went through the entire process in her mind, but regretfully found that she still couldn't figure out how the fingerprint identification report was related to the entire matter. Lu Huamei sighed slightly. "I seem to have lost a round." Although the other party didn't know this, Lu Huamei's stubborn self-esteem was a little frustrated. She picked up the report and read it carefully. However, as she continued to read, her originally furrowed brows slowly relaxed. This was because she already knew the purpose of this report being used as evidence from this fingerprint identification report. Chapter 1456. All the pages had the fingerprints of Jing Xiaolu, Bao Sanli, Lu Luyo, and Su Xiaobin, as well as several staff members. Only one page was missing the fingerprints of Su Xiaobin and a few staff members. What did this mean? It meant that there was nothing wrong with the other pages. Only one page had a problem, and this page did not go through Su Xiaobin's hands. In theory, it was impossible for Su Xiaobin to skip this page and read the other pages of the contract directly. What's on this page? Lu Huamei pointed at the problematic page number on the identification report and asked. However, she immediately shook her head with a smile. I know. It must be the most important page. It's about the specific numbers of investment and profit distribution, right? That's right. Jing Xiaolu nodded. She was not surprised that Lu Huamei had hit the nail on the head. After all, if it wasn't for this page, this fingerprint identification report would be useless. Lu Huamei had never doubted the authenticity of this fingerprint identification report. Putting aside the fact that there was an authoritative seal on it, the key question was, if it wasn't a fake, then what was wrong with Jing Xiaolu and Bao Sanli's brains? How could they sign such a mutually beneficial contract? Therefore, the only possibility was that one of the pages in the middle of the contract had been replaced by Lu Jifei's people. As for how it was changed, and whether incense was used, these could only be guessed. There was no evidence. However, this fingerprint identification report could be used as a piece of favorable evidence. Of course, judging from the fingerprint development on the report, there was no tampering on the problematic page. It was impossible to erase Su Xiaobin's fingerprints alone. However, she was afraid that Lu Jifei would strongly deny it and claim that this identification report was tampered with. Lu Huamei sighed slightly and said, I can believe in the authority of this report, but it is not enough for me to use it as favorable evidence to face Lu Jinan. After all, you also know that the Mingyang Security Company is a company under the Songjiang Police Station. This report was made by Songjiang's Judicial Department. So, if Lu Jinan catches this point. After all, the current methods of counterfeiting are very clever. Lu Huamei's words had a hidden meaning. Although she didn't say it explicitly, she was actually reminding Jing Xiaolu that if this appraisal report had been done in Jiangyan City, it might have been falsified under the interference of Lu Jinan's powerful connections. Hee. Jing Xiaolu smiled indifferently. Her finger tapped lightly on the identification report. Su Xiaobin's fingerprints are not on this page of our contract. The contract in Lu Jifei's hands also doesn't have President Su's fingerprints. And the most important point is that his copy does not only do not have President Su's fingerprints, but our President Bao's fingerprints as well. Lu Huamei's. I didn't think of it. That's right. Was a victim's was also a victim, he was also a victim was a victim as well. As. Was a, he was. Was. If. I threw ins. Lu Huamei had checked Bao Sanli's information after the news of the cooperation between the company and the Mingyang Security Company. Bao Sanli was a gangster with a low level of education. From today's contact, he was indeed a rough person. Jing Xiaolu, on the other hand, had been the one talking from the beginning until now. It could be seen that she was in the leading position between Bao Sanli and herself. Therefore, this fingerprint evidence must have been thought of by Jing Xiaolu, not Bao Sanli. I'm ashamed. Although I thought of it, it's just hindsight. Jing Xiaolu blushed. I've troubled Director Lu this time. Lu Huamei nodded. She would take care of this matter whether it was for public or private reasons. It was a joke to expect both parties to cooperate sincerely in this kind of contractual relationship. For the future development of the company, this contract must be changed to a fair one that was beneficial to both parties. Lu Huamei also wanted to use this matter to knock Lu Jinan down. Lu Huamei would not believe that Lu Jinan was not behind this matter. It was impossible for Lu Jinan not to know that Lu Jifei dared to do such a thing so boldly. I will mention this matter at the board meeting tomorrow. President Bao, Vice President Jing, wait for my news, okay? Lu Huamei did not make any promises on the spot. Although she was confident that she could get her grandfather to ask about this matter, Lu Huamei did not want to make any promises before it was done. Then I'll have to trouble you, Director Lu. Jing Xiaolu also knew that since Lu Huamei had taken the matter on, she would definitely do her best to do it. It was not so important whether she made a promise or not. Director Lu, thank you for your trouble. Bao Sanli also stood up and said a few words. I will do my best to arrange when you come to Songjiang in the future. Lu Huamei smiled slightly. This Bao Sanli is indeed a rough person. It seems that the Jing Xiaolu beside him is a think tank. I just don't know what the relationship between Bao Sanli and Jing Xiaolu is. Looking at the conversation between the two, it did not seem like a relationship between lovers. Bao Sanli even had some respect for Jing Xiaolu. This made Lu Huamei somewhat confused. This did not seem to be the attitude of a president towards a vice president. Even if this vice president was quite intelligent and it was possible to treat her kindly, this kind of respect seemed to have reversed the relationship between a superior and a subordinate. However, this was other people's business. Lu Huamei was just a little curious, but did not ask much. After all, the two parties were not very familiar with each other. Some things could be understood without asking when they were familiar with each other. After leaving the Jiangyan building and getting into the car, Bao Sanli asked, President Su, do you think this Director Lu will help us wholeheartedly? I think so. She and Lu Jinan have always been at odds. Lu Jinan has always wanted to exclude her from the core of the group's power. This matter is obviously related to Lu Jinan. I think Lu Huamei can't just ignore it, right? Su Xiaobin said after thinking about it. Yes, Jing Xiaolu agreed. However, President Su only said one of the reasons. Is there another reason? Bao Sanli and Su Xiaobin asked curiously at the same time. The second reason is that I have seen in the information before. Lu Huamei is a person who thinks wholeheartedly for the company. Her reputation among the group's middle-level leaders is very high. This is not a secret. It can be seen in the Jiangyan Group's forum. Jing Xiaolu said, after seeing her today, this rumor should be true. Why are you so sure? Su Xiaobin was a little curious. I am an insider in the company. I have heard some things about Director Lu. What she does is indeed beneficial to the company. She has a clear conscience. She is not like Lu Jinan who fights for power and profit. President Su, if I tell the truth, please don't be angry. Jing Xiaolu hesitated. Me? Angry? Why would I be? Vice President Jing, if you have something to say, just say it. Su Xiaobin was a little baffled. He thought, what does commenting on Lu Huamei have to do with me? Previously, when the phone recording was played, although Lu Jifei used a trick to insult Wang Lixia, Lu Huamei only had disgust in her eyes after listening to it. She was not angry, Jing Xiaolu said. Jing Xiaolu said, this shows that Lu Huamei is only full of disdain for Lu Jifei's actions, but she is far from being angry because this matter has nothing to do with her. It has no impact on the company's interests, so Lu Huamei has such an expression. That's true, but this doesn't mean anything, right? Su Xiaobin was also used to it. Since he had accepted Wang Lixia, this knot had long been untied. Of course, he would not avoid this matter. Of course, it can mean anything. If she wants to fight for power and profit, she can use this matter to attack Lu Jifei. Lu Jifei is Lu Zhenan's person. So, if she wants to use this matter to make an issue, she can also attack Lu Zhenan, Jing Xiaolu said. However, Lu Huamei doesn't have that idea because there is no excitement in her eyes that can attack Lu Zhenan. Chapter 1457. Su Xiaobin and Bao Sanli nodded as they listened to Jing Xiaolu's words. Indeed, if Lu Huamei wanted to use this matter as a means to attack Lu Zhenan, it would be a good excuse and point of attack. However, this matter had nothing to do with the company's affairs. Lu Huamei was too lazy to care about it. If this recording could not be used as auxiliary evidence, perhaps Lu Huamei would not have the patience to listen to it. After I showed the fingerprint identification bag, Lu Huamei confirmed that the contract had been stolen. At this time, her eyes were filled with indignation. Jing Xiaolu said, it was the kind of indignation that lamented because this changed contract had completely angered her. Once this contract was carried out, it would do no good to the company. She was very clear that a cooperative relationship based on this unequal contract could not be continued. That was why she was so angry. Lu Huamei would only care if it affected the company's overall interests. The comments on the internet were not wrong. Even if she went against Lu Zhenan, it was because of the company's affairs. There were no personal grudges. Su Xiaobin and Bao Sanli couldn't help but be moved. Lu Huamei was really such a person. She was indeed worthy of respect. If the Jiangyan group had such a person at the helm, why would they worry about not being able to reach a higher level? However, perhaps everyone present knew that it was extremely difficult for Lu Huamei to control the core power of the Jiangyan group. This is also why I was so sure that Lu Huamei could help us. Jing Xiaolu let out a long sigh of relief. Until now, my hanging heart has finally been put down. If it weren't for your explanation, I would still be worried. Bao Sanli smiled rudely. Xiaolu is still the best. Jing Xiaolu smiled bitterly. She was not very excited about Bao Sanli's praise. As long as Brother Yang comes back and knows about this, it will be fine as long as he doesn't scold us. Yeah, it's fine for you. Brother Yang is protective of women, but I can't. Bao Sanli also smiled bitterly. Brother Yang. This was the first time Su Xiaobin heard this name. It seemed that even Bao Sanli was very respectful. Could it be the Yang Ming that Lu Jifei mentioned? It was very possible to think about it. However, this was an internal matter of other people's companies. Su Xiaobin was not a member of other people's companies yet, so it was inappropriate to ask more. President Su, you are familiar with this place. Find a hotel. Let's stay here now. Although it is not very far from Songjiang, it is not close either. It is troublesome to go back and forth. Jing Xiaolu asked Su Xiaobin in the back seat while driving. Vice President Jing, I reckon that I'm about to reach the end of my career as an office manager. Su Xiaobin smiled and mocked himself. You can call me Little Su or Xiaobin, but don't call me President Su. All right. I will call you Xiaobing. This will make us feel closer. Jing Xiaolu said, then you can also call me Xiaolu. In private, we are all friends. There aren't so many rules. I'll listen to you then. Su Xiaobin did not refuse. In his opinion, Jing Xiaolu was a very sincere person. Such a person was worth being friends with. Under Su Xiaobin's guidance, the group came to a decent hotel in Jiangyan City and stayed there. They quietly waited for news from Lu Huamei. Elo Town, Butterfly Castle. Early in the morning, Yang Ming received a call from old Buffon, saying that he had arrived in Elo Town and was heading in the direction of Butterfly Castle. He estimated that he would arrive in about an hour. Yang Ming remembered that old Buffon was coming here to see him. He chatted with Wang Xiaoyan very well last night, so he couldn't help but drink a few more glasses. Although Yang Ming had a high alcohol tolerance, he was very happy to finally be together with Wang Xiaoyan after such a blunder. So, he leaned on the table as they chatted. This was also because Yang Ming opened his heart and knew that Wang Songshan would not harm him, so he was not on guard. After drinking, Wang Songshan ambiguously asked Wang Xiaoyan to help Yang Ming to rest. As for whose room to rest in and what happened after the rest, Wang Songshan did not ask. Anyway, the news of the two living together was not a secret. It had long been passed back through Tombstone and Wang Kajin. Wang Songshan was not an old-fashioned person who still hoped to be able to hold his grandson one day earlier. Naturally, he would not care about other people's business. Yen. Yang Ming pushed Wang Xiaoyan, who was sleeping soundly beside him. Wang Xiaoyan made an "ah" sound. She didn't even open her eyes and continued to sleep. Yang Ming was a little helpless. With your vigilance, you still want to be an assassin. You won't even know if someone kills you. Oh. Wang Xiaoyan finally opened her sleepy eyes and glanced at Yang Ming. She said, "Aren't you here? If someone is coming, it's useless for me to wake up if you can't deal with it. I might as well sleep." Yang Ming was speechless. What kind of bullshit theory is this? 2 against 1, there is always a higher chance of winning, right? Who called just now? Who is coming? It's so noisy. I wanted to sleep a little longer. Wang Xiaoyan was woken up by Yang Ming. It was probably impossible for her to continue sleeping. She stretched and slowly got up from the bed to look for clothes. She complained, "I haven't slept well these few days at home. I was thinking about breaking off the engagement and going back quickly. I finally had a good sleep, but I was woken up by you. Old Buffon is coming." Yang Ming said helplessly, "Do you think I don't want to sleep a little longer? I haven't recovered from the jet lag yet, but this old guy has already arrived in Elo Town. He will probably reach Butterfly Castle in an hour." "Ah, he is coming." Wang Xiaoyan was stunned, and then quickly began to put on her clothes. As old Buffon's master's wife, how could Wang Xiaoyan not get up quickly? Otherwise, it would be very shameful to be caught sleeping in bed. Does my father know that he is coming? Uncle Wang only knew that someone from the Buffon family was coming, but he didn't know that it was old Buffon. Yang Ming said, "I didn't tell him at the time because I was afraid of scaring him." "Oh, then you don't have to tell him. Give him a surprise." "Who asked him to trick us?" Wang Xiaoyan disagreed and said slyly. He. Yang Ming couldn't help but laugh after listening to Wang Xiaoyan's words. "Then, I guess we really have to give him a surprise." After Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan quickly washed up, they went out of the room and went downstairs. Wang Songshan, Fang Tian, and Wang Ruoshui had already woken up. At this moment, the 3 of them were sitting on the chairs in the dining room and talking about something. However, Wang Ruoshui's face was red. It was obvious at a glance that something must have happened last night. It was not difficult to imagine what happened. Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan looked at each other and saw the answer in each other's eyes. They couldn't help but smile. Wang Xiaoyan's face couldn't help but blush. In fact, she and Wang Ruoshui were just the pot calling the kettle black. What happened last night was only known to her and Yang Ming. "Yang Ming, Yen, have you woken up?" Wang Songshan watched Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan walk into the dining room. His address for Yang Ming had changed from little friend Yang Ming to calling him by his name. "Uncle Wang, good morning." Yang Ming smiled and greeted Wang Songshan, then turned to Fang Tian and Wang Ruoshui. Master's wife, good morning. Both of you look good. You must have slept well last night, right? Hee hee. Fong Tian smiled wretchedly. How could he not understand the meaning of Yang Ming's words? However, he was also a little proud. Don't look at my age, my masculinity is still as strong as before. So much so that Wang Ruoshui scolded anxiously. How can he still be so fierce at such an old age? Don't look at Wang Ruoshui's age. It was the first time for a virgin. While she was depressed, she was also secretly happy. It seems that Fong Tian's body is still in good condition. Wang Ruoshui's face became redder after being teased by Yang Ming. She glared at Yang Ming fiercely, then coughed and said, Yang Ming, Yen, sit down and eat breakfast. Chapter 1458. Breakfast. Let's put it aside first. Yang Ming said, now, there is an important thing to say. In a while, the Buffon family will be our guest. They have already arrived in Elo town. I estimate that they will arrive in another hour. Yang Ming said. What? The Buffon family is here. Wang Songshan was shocked when he heard Yang Ming's words. He stood up, Yang Ming, why didn't you say so earlier? We didn't prepare for such an important matter in advance. You know, they are the most distinguished guests. Wang Songshan did not doubt the authenticity of Yang Ming's words. If someone else told Wang Songshan that the Buffon family was coming to the butterfly family as guests, Wang Songshan would definitely not believe it. The reason was very simple. Although the butterfly family was also a powerful existence in the upper class of Europe, they were inferior to the Buffon family. Even if they were to be guests, it would be their own people visiting the Buffon family. How could they let the Buffon family come personally? However, all of this came from Yang Ming's mouth. Wang Songshan naturally believed it completely. This was because Yang Ming found the Buffon family to resolve the family crisis this time. Since Yang Ming could command the Buffon family, what was impossible for the Buffon family to visit the butterfly family? Uncle Wang, it's not that I didn't say so earlier, but I received a call from them early this morning. Yang Ming smiled bitterly. This old guy didn't even say anything when he left yesterday. He actually woke me and Yen up early in the morning. Damn it. Yang Ming. How can you be so rude? Wang Songshan was shocked when he heard Yang Ming's words. How could he casually talk about the Buffon family? If it was heard by others, then the trouble would be huge. Although you are familiar with them, and perhaps you use some benefits to persuade them to help us resolve the crisis, but you shouldn't look down on them. If you offend them, then the losses will outweigh the gains. If they fall out with us, the consequences are not something we can bear. Falling out. Yang Ming smiled indifferently. As long as he has that thought, he can turn hostile at any time. I don't care. Everyone present looked at Yang Ming in astonishment. They didn't understand why a person who was originally very sensible would suddenly become so arrogant. When facing the Lancer family, Yang Ming was not so arrogant, but when facing the Buffon family, which was more than one level higher, he spoke arrogantly. However, there was one person who knew that Yang Ming was telling the truth. This person was Wang Xiaoyan. Not only did Yang Ming dare to say these words to scold old Buffon, but even if he scolded him in front of old Buffon could only face him with an apologetic smile. As for Fong Tian, he knew that Yang Ming had accepted this Buffon family member as his disciple, so he wasn't too worried. Yeah, this person is really annoying. I was sleeping soundly, but he woke me up. When I see him later, I must scold him. Wang Xiaoyan naturally cooperated with Yang Ming. The coquettish expression on her face seemed to show that she didn't put the Buffon family in her eyes at all. Are these two children still asleep? Wang Ruoshui looked at Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan, dumbfounded. She didn't understand why these two people spoke like this. Probably. Wang Songshan listened to Wang Ruoshui's analysis and thought so. This was the only reason that could explain what was happening in front of him. He waved his hand helplessly. Let the two of them wake up here. Let's hurry up and prepare. Don't neglect them. Fortunately, the house has been redecorated for Yan Yan and Yang Ming yesterday. Otherwise, we would really be caught off guard. Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan looked at each other and smiled knowingly. Sometimes, the truth was always not believed. Both of them were just telling the truth, but everyone didn't believe it. Why are they so active? Yang Ming smiled bitterly. It seems that the old guy, old Buffon, wants to come and learn, right? But they don't know. Wang Xiaoyan also smiled bitterly. Forget it. Let's eat. Don't worry about them. Okay, let's eat. Yang Ming looked at the untouched breakfast on the table. It was really convenient for him. Wang Songshan and the others probably wanted to wait for him and Wang Xiaoyan to come down so that they could have breakfast together. Obviously, they had waited for them, but the news he brought them made these old guys unable to eat. Fong Tian had no concept of the upper-class families in Europe. Moreover, no matter how powerful old Buffon was in Europe, it had nothing to do with Fong Tian. However, since Wang Ruoshui was busy, how could Fong Tian not help? Therefore, Fong Tian followed behind Wang Ruoshui and busied himself like a follower. With yesterday's foreshadowing, it was not difficult to decorate the interior of the butterfly castle. They just had to remove those obviously festive things and replace them with welcoming things. When they were done, Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan were also full. The two of them didn't think that Wang Songshan and the others could come back and continue to eat after they were done. Therefore, they didn't even think about leaving food for them. They just picked out what they liked to eat and left a pile of leftovers. Who? Wang Songshan was very tired after busying himself for a long time. When he returned to the dining room again, he happened to see Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan had just finished eating and drinking leisurely. He couldn't help but be angry and amused. You two, aren't you really in a hurry? What's the hurry? Yang Ming said disapprovingly, it's not like we haven't seen the people of the Buffon family. Is there a need to be so grand? That's right. The car broke down. Wang Songshan, Wang Ruoshui, Fong Tian, and Butler Mu all had strange expressions. The Buffon family's cars were all specially made. How could they break down so easily? Furthermore, wasn't this too sudden? Why wasn't there any warning signs? Coincidentally, it broke down in front of the Butterfly Castle's entrance. But these people really couldn't think of any other reason. It was impossible to say that the Buffon family didn't want to be guests. How could they go back on their words at the entrance? The only possibility was that the car broke down as Wang Xiaoyan said. Although this reason was nonsense, it was also the most likely. Wang Songshan was guessing what was going on when he saw the Buffon family's off-road vehicle's door open not far away. Two people, a man and a woman, got out of the car. After getting out of the car, they quickly ran in the direction of the Butterfly Castle. Could it be that the car really broke down? Wang Songshan suddenly had the urge to laugh and cry. If the car didn't break down, why would the people in the car get out of the car and run over? This. Wang Xiaoyan really guessed it right. Thinking of this, Wang Songshan didn't dare to neglect. Although he didn't know if the two people who got out of the car were the real deal, Wang Songshan didn't dare to neglect them since they were from the butterfly family. He quickly walked over to the man and woman. Hello, distinguished guests from the Buffon family. I am the family master of the butterfly family, Wang Songshan. When Wang Songshan was about to walk to old Buffon and Mrs. Buffon, he said, "Excuse me, is there a problem with your car? Do you need help?" Car problem. Old Buffon and Mrs. Buffon were both stunned. They looked back at their car strangely, then glanced at the confused Wang Songshan and knew that he had misunderstood. The car is not broken. Old Buffon waved his hand. Although he knew about the butterfly family and had heard of Wang Songshan, he didn't know the relationship between Wang Songshan and Yang Ming. He came here this time for Yang Ming. As for Wang Songshan, it wasn't important. Old Buffon didn't want to waste time with him. He had already seen Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan standing in a group of people. He thought that he should quickly run to Yang Ming and ask for forgiveness. How could he have the mood to explain so much to Wang Songshan? So he just said perfunctorily, "Hello, Family Master Wang. I am old Buffon, the patriarch of the Buffon family. This is my wife. Okay, let's talk later. I have something very important to do now. I'm sorry, I have to leave first." Old Buffon, the patriarch of the Buffon family. And Mrs. Buffon. Wang Songshan's eyes widened as soon as these words came out. No wonder Wang Songshan felt that these two people were a little familiar when they got closer. Although Wang Songshan didn't participate in some of the regular gatherings of the upper class, it didn't mean that he didn't know the family masters of these upper-class families. Especially people like old Buffon and Mrs. Buffon who had a high exposure rate. Wang Songshan didn't think in this direction before. In his opinion, the people who came to see Yang Ming, even if they were from the Buffon family, would not be people with high status. How would those people know Yang Ming? So, he never thought that the people in front of him were actually the patriarch of the Buffon family and his wife. Wang Songshan suddenly realized after old Buffon introduced himself. He compared the image of old Buffon and his impression with the person in front of him and confirmed that it was not wrong. This scared him a lot. The patriarch of the Buffon family actually came to the butterfly family as a guest. What a shocking piece of news. I'm afraid that once this news is out, the status of the butterfly family will be pushed to an unprecedented height. The Buffon family was already the top existence in the upper-class society. However, the patriarch, old Buffon, rarely visited any family in a high-profile manner because it was always others who visited old Buffon. How could old Buffon visit others personally? Old Buffon's appearance in the butterfly family was equivalent to giving Wang Songshan a huge face. This made Wang Songshan surprised and happy. However, he became even more suspicious. The person Yang Ming knows is actually the patriarch of the Buffon family. However, before Wang Songshan could say anything, old Buffon had already turned around and left. He didn't say a word to him at all. Even so, Wang Songshan didn't dare to say a single word. On the contrary, old Buffon had already given Wang Songshan a lot of face by explaining a few words to him. If it were someone else, old Buffon would have no time to explain these things if he had something important to do. However, old Buffon had just arrived at the butterfly family. What important thing did he have to do? Not only was Wang Songshan puzzled, but even Wang Ruoxue, Fang Tian, and Butler Mu, who were next to Wang Songshan, were also puzzled. They had just followed behind Wang Songshan, so they heard the conversation between Wang Songshan and old Buffon clearly. They turned their heads and looked in the direction of old Buffon, but they saw a scene that made everyone present extremely surprised. They saw old Buffon pulling his wife and running quickly to the front of Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan. He said breathlessly, "Master, mistress." Chapter 1460. Among the people present, except for Fang Tian, no one could imagine that old Buffon would abandon the butterfly family's family master, Wang Songshan, at this moment and run directly to Yang Ming. At this moment, he did not have the demeanor that the Buffon family's patriarch should have. Looking at his hurried appearance, he was like a child who was eager to admit his mistake, or a child who was eager to find trouble. If old Buffon's image did not coincide with the image in Wang Songshan's heart at this moment, Wang Songshan would even think that the person in front of him was not the Buffon family's patriarch, old Buffon. This was because old Buffon's actions and demeanor were far from the legendary patriarchs of the top families in the upper-class society. Especially the words that old Buffon said after that shocked everyone present. Master's wife. Old Buffon said breathlessly, "We deserve to die for letting the two of you welcome us here, but we sat in the car. We didn't know before, so please don't blame us." 3 black lines suddenly appeared on Yang Ming's head. Wang Xiaoyan, who was beside him, also felt a little dumbfounded. "So, this old guy stopped the car halfway up the mountain and ran up because I personally welcomed them." Our group of people were inexplicably guessing why he stopped the car and even thought that his car was broken. "We didn't expect this to be the reason. Your car is not broken." Wang Xiaoyan reached out and gently touched her smooth forehead. She felt a little dizzy. "Aren't you wasting time?" "That. Master's wife, you and Master are standing here. How can we sit here?" Old Buffon quickly explained. Looking at Master's wife's expression, she didn't seem very happy. "Did I park the wrong car?" Master's wife. Except for Fang Tian, Wang Songshan, Wang Ruoshui, and Butler Mu were completely dumbfounded. The Buffon family's patriarch is actually Yang Ming's disciple? And he actually called Miss Master's wife. It seems that he also knows Miss Master. Isn't this world too crazy? Since when did the butterfly family inexplicably have such a powerful background? The current patriarch of such a large aristocratic family was actually the disciple of the eldest Miss and young Master. Wang Songshan's heart was moved. Previously, he felt that Yang Ming was awesome. He felt that it was a big gain for his daughter to marry him, but he didn't expect it to be so big. In the future, the reputation of the butterfly family might reach an unprecedented height. Previously, the reason why Wang Songshan desperately wanted to develop the butterfly family into the #1 family in the assassin world was because although the butterfly family also had a certain prestige in the upper class, it was only because of the butterfly family's uniqueness that they were not well accepted by other families. Everyone maintained a sense of mystery and awe towards them. Often, they would stay away from them after a few words. Therefore, the butterfly family had never been able to truly integrate into the upper-class society. If Wang Songshan wanted the family to develop better, he could only work hard on the path of an assassin. There was no other way. This was because the other families had a respectful attitude towards you, but they didn't want to interact with you. If you wanted to find someone to do business with, they would ignore you. However, with the support of old Buffon and old Buffon's Buffon family, the butterfly family would be successful in the upper class in the future. They could soar and improve by more than one level. Thinking of this, Wang Songshan was excited. He wanted to hold old Buffon's hand now and have a good chat. He hoped that old Buffon would give face to Yang Ming and help the butterfly family more in the future. Then, the butterfly family would benefit endlessly. One must know that old Buffon's family was involved in a variety of industries. If the butterfly family could get a share of any industry, they could earn unimaginable wealth. Even Fang Tian was very shocked. He knew that Yang Ming had accepted a person from the Buffon family as a disciple, but he didn't know that this disciple was the current patriarch of the Buffon family. Although Fong Tian wasn't very interested in the Buffon family because he was in China and didn't have much interaction with Europe, he knew that this old Buffon was very important to the butterfly family when he saw his old friend's expression at this moment. It was no wonder when he thought about it. The Buffon family could directly and easily solve the firearms issue that was regarded as the biggest problem by everyone. Such a family was naturally very powerful. Especially when he saw the other party's age, he actually called Yang Ming, this little thing, master. This made Fong Tian very unhappy. Damn, I'm the old man. Why are you acting like an old man when you're just a little kid? Moreover, I'm your master. Even if he's your disciple, he's also my grand disciple. You can't just leave me alone, right? Thinking of this, Fong Tian suddenly coughed twice. Yang Ming was slightly stunned. He knew what Fong Tian, this old guy, was thinking. After all, this wretched master had been with him for so long. Yang Ming still understood his thoughts very well. Old Buffon, let me introduce you. This is my master, who is also your grandmaster. Yang Ming pointed at Fong Tian and introduced him to old Buffon. Ah! Old Buffon was shocked and immediately became overjoyed. Yang Ming was already so powerful. Then, wouldn't Yang Ming's master be even more awesome? Could he be a legendary hermit? Could he fly and walk on walls? Grandmaster, please accept a bow from your grand disciple. Old Buffon looked at the inconspicuous Fong Tian, but he didn't have the slightest contempt. Generally, the more inconspicuous a person was, the more skills they had. Therefore, old Buffon didn't hesitate to bow down. Mrs. Buffon, who was at the side, also followed old Buffon to bow to Fong Tian in fear and trepidation. Fong Tian was just casually angry. He thought that this Yang Ming accepted a disciple and didn't come to bow to him. However, he didn't expect old Buffon to bow to him without hesitation. Fong Tian was suddenly shocked and said somewhat awkwardly, "Okay, quickly get up, thank you, Grandmaster." Old Buffon was overjoyed when he heard Fong Tian speak because it seemed that Fong Tian had recognized them as his grand disciples. Previously, old Buffon was afraid that Fong Tian wouldn't recognize them. Then, he wouldn't know what to do. However, he didn't expect this grandmaster to be so easy to talk to. This is my master's wife. Yang Ming continued to introduce the people present to old Buffon as he pointed to Wang Ruoshui and said, "Disciple greets the grandmaster's wife." Old Buffon was overjoyed. It seems that I came at the right time today. Master has introduced all the people in the sect to me. This is a kind of recognition for me. Perhaps, he will teach me more exquisite martial arts. Although Mrs. Buffon wasn't very proficient in Chinese culture, she followed whatever old Buffon did. She was quite good at it. This is your master's wife's father. Yang Ming finally introduced Wang Songshan. After thinking about it, he didn't know how to address him. Ah! Old Buffon was shocked. It turns out that the master of the butterfly family is actually the master's wife's father. And, thinking about it, the master's wife is called Wang Xiaoyan, and the master of the butterfly family is called Wang Songshan. So that's why. I have neglected it before. Thinking of this, the cold sweat on old Buffon's forehead immediately came down. When he came over before, he was indifferent to Wang Songshan and didn't take him seriously. However, he didn't expect him to have such a powerful identity. Old Buffon didn't dare to neglect. He quickly continued to kneel down with his wife and said to Wang Songshan in fear and trepidation, "Disciple greets." Old Buffon was also dumbfounded. How should I address the master's wife's father? Even though he was proficient in Chinese culture, he didn't know what words to use to describe this unusual relationship. Therefore, he was immediately stuck there. how about calling him Grandmaster too? Yang Ming hesitated and said, although Yan Yan is your master's wife, most of your wife's martial arts came from the butterfly family. Therefore, calling him Grandmaster is not in vain. How can it be in vain? Old Buffon quickly said after listening, disciple greets Grandmaster Wang. Wang Songshan was also dumbfounded. My identity suddenly rose a lot and became Grandmaster? Isn't this too exaggerated? Previously, I was still thinking about how to build a relationship with the Buffon family. Now, it's great. I don't even have to think about it. I'm here directly. Seeing that Wang Songshan's expression was uncertain and he didn't speak, old Buffon was shocked. I had neglected him before. Did I offend him because of this? He was shocked and quickly apologized. Grandmaster Wang, disciple has offended you before. I didn't know you were Grandmaster, so I hope Grandmaster can forgive me. Chapter 1461. Wang Songshan really wanted to beat himself up. Am I dreaming? Otherwise, how could the high and mighty Buffon family patriarch, old Buffon, who is usually difficult to meet, kneel in front of me and apologize to me in fear and trepidation? Looking at Wang Songshan's incredulous look, Yang Ming shrugged and thought, I didn't mean to be pretentious. Although I am called Brother B, that is really not my intention. How would I know that old Buffon would make such a big fuss? Kneeling and kowtowing as soon as I arrived. It's not that I want to be pretentious, but there are really too many people cooperating with me to be pretentious, that. It's okay. Patriarch Buffon, you are really too polite. Please get up quickly. It doesn't look right to be kneeling at the gate. After a while, Wang Songshan woke up. He was the head of the family after all. He had a natural courage and reached out to help old Buffon up. In the blink of an eye, a lot of people younger than old Buffon had become old Buffon's elders. However, old Buffon did not feel the slightest discomfort. Instead, he was very adapted to the situation in front of him and maintained a respectful smile for everyone. It turns out that the butterfly family has such a strong foundation. I originally thought that they were just an ordinary assassin family that was only good at using guns and assassination. I didn't expect that they also knew martial arts. I actually didn't notice it for so long. If I had known this earlier, I would have gone to the butterfly family's door and not waited until I was so old to enter the sect. This huge change from a distinguished guest in the family to a disciple in the family made the butterfly family's preparations for a warm welcome go to waste. The welcoming things from before were also useless. Old Buffon was as easygoing as his own people in the family. He was amiable to everyone. There was no need for a big welcome ceremony at all. This made Wang Songshan very depressed. Didn't I prepare for nothing? This Yang Ming didn't remind me in advance and made me work for nothing. If I had known this earlier, why did I prepare in such a hurry? There was no need at all. In the end, I didn't even eat breakfast. In fact, Yang Ming had already reminded him before, but Wang Songshan didn't believe it. He didn't even take it to heart, which led to the current situation. Previously, Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan's disapproving attitude made Wang Songshan and Wang Ruoxue think that they were still sleeping. Who could they blame? It could only mean that sometimes, when you speak the truth, others won't believe you. Old Buffon was easygoing and didn't treat himself as an outsider at all. The high-end guest room that was originally prepared was useless because old Buffon wanted to stay next to Yang Ming and Fang Tian, and the prepared guest room was far away from here. At that time, Wang Songshan thought that since old Buffon was a distinguished guest, he naturally had to live in a quiet environment where he would not be disturbed. Anyway, the butterfly castle was very big, so Wang Songshan ordered people to clean up a room far away from everyone. It was very quiet. He didn't expect old Buffon and Yang Ming to have such a relationship, but old Buffon didn't care if the room was specially decorated. Even his master, the Grandmaster, could live here, so why couldn't he? If he continued to be picky, wouldn't he be asking for a beating? Therefore, old Buffon happily stayed. This made the people of the butterfly family, who were originally nervous and afraid of neglecting old Buffon's family, sigh in relief. It turns out that Patriarch Buffon is so approachable. However, Wang Songzhan and others understood very well that all this originated from Yang Ming. If it weren't for his relationship with Yang Ming, would old Buffon treat the butterfly family like this? Why had they never heard that old Buffon was such an easygoing person before this? Jiangyan City, Jiangyan Group's conference room. The board meeting was in progress. Lu Jiangyan, the old master of the Lu family, sat in the main seat, slowly sipping his tea and looking at his grandchildren in the conference room. Those who could attend the board meeting were basically the direct descendants of the Lu family. This couldn't be changed. Old Master Lu was shrewd all his life, but it was inevitable that there would be a day when the company's shares would be divided by his sons, grandchildren, and granddaughters. The huge Jiangyan group would be torn apart in an instant. Looking at the few descendants who fought to the death for their own interests every day, Lu Jiangyan's heart was filled with a trace of desolation. Could it be that this was a big family? Could it be that these people couldn't unite as one? Don't they know that if the group is really divided, it won't be good for them? However, the temptation of power had blinded these people's minds. Everyone didn't want to be under others. The final result was the division of the group. The consequence of the division was that the Jiangyan group instantly became several medium-sized groups. At first, the impact might be smaller, but after a long time, without the support of the huge parent company behind them, how could these medium-sized groups resist the blow brought by those competitors in the industry? Without the Jiangyan group's banner, who would be afraid of you? Who would give you face? Don't look at how these industries were smooth sailing under the Jiangyan group. Once they were divided, they would inevitably decline. But, can these people really not see it? Isn't it good to nominate a leader who can lead the family and the group to glory? Isn't it good for everyone to get a huge bonus every year? If Lu Huamei can sit in the position of the company's chairman of the board of directors, the Jiangyan group will definitely continue to develop brilliantly even if I retire. Everyone's bonus will not be less than now, but it will be much more than after the division of the business. Lu Jiangyan shook his head. His third son, Lu Hua, and Lu Hua's two sons were not easy to deal with. If Lu Huamei was the chairman, they would probably be the first to jump out to oppose it. Lu Jiangyan listened to everyone report their own data. The seemingly harmonious group was actually full of danger. In fact, Lu Jiangyan's thoughts were not on these data at all. If there were no major problems, the group had now entered the stage of stable profitability. These data did not have much meaning whether he listened to it or not. Grandpa, I have a talent that I want to recommend to you, Lu Jianan suddenly said after reporting his work. Oh. Lu Jiangyan recovered from his contemplation and looked at his grandson. He was clear in his heart. I'm afraid he wants to place his own confidant in the group again. However, as a grandfather, what can I say? Forget it, I'll listen to him. What kind of person is worthy of Jianan's praise? Tell me about it. Grandpa, you know about the previous cooperation project with the Songjiang Mingyang Security Company. Lu Jianan was delighted when he saw that his grandfather allowed him to continue. He quickly said, the negotiator we sent for this project is Lu Jifei, who is also a relative of our Lu family. Lu Jiangyan snorted and motioned for Lu Jianan to continue. Lu Jifei showed amazing talent during the negotiation. He negotiated this contract beautifully and won a lot of benefits for our company. As Lu Jianan spoke, he took out a copy of the contract and handed it to Lu Jiangyan. Grandpa, please take a look. This contract is quite beneficial to our company. Therefore, I think that such a talent should be promoted. Isn't the group lacking a deputy finance director? I think he can do it. Lu Jianan didn't know that Su Xiaobin had already taken Bao Sanli and the others to find Lu Huamei. In his opinion, it was fine to delay Su Xiaobin's matter first. Here, he had to finalize Lu Jifei's position first. At that time, he would push all the blame to Su Xiaobin and let him be the scapegoat. Even if the contract could not be carried out and the Mingyang Security Company fell out, he could use this opportunity to fire Su Xiaobin and end it all. Chapter 1462. Therefore, Lu Jianan had a good plan, but he neglected the fact that Su Xiaobin actually found Lu Huamei. The reason why he was so conceited before was that he thought that Su Xiaobin couldn't bypass him to find someone else. In the group, there were only 3 people who could solve this problem. They were himself as the vice president, his father as the president, and his grandfather as the chairman. Of course, Lu Jianan didn't think that Su Xiaobin could reach his grandfather and talk to him directly. This was impossible in his opinion. This was because even if it was him, it was not easy to meet his grandfather. Except for the board meeting, he had to convey his opinions to his father, and his father would then convey it to his grandfather. Therefore, in the group, the only one who could talk to his grandfather directly without any obstacles was his father, Lu Hua, the president of the group. Of course, there was a special case, and that was Lu Huamei. This cousin of his. Lu Jianan gritted his teeth at the mention of this name. There was no other reason except that this cousin was too outstanding and too doted on. Everyone was a direct descendant of the Lu family, and Lu Huamei was a woman, but she could talk to his grandfather directly at any time. Why was it so difficult for him, the vice president of the company, to see his grandfather? Based on what? Based on what? Lu Jianan couldn't accept this reality, so he would do everything to create trouble for his cousin. Aren't you capable? Aren't you doted on? I believe that as long as all the trouble comes to you, even your grandfather can't protect you. After all, the power in the company's board of directors had been dispersed. It was no longer a one-man show. As long as someone took the opportunity to create trouble, even his grandfather couldn't suppress it for no reason. Let's not talk about this first. Lu Jianan didn't care about Su Xiaobin's matter at all. In his opinion, Su Xiaobin couldn't cause any trouble at all. Since his grandfather and Lu Hua were not on good terms, and since Lu Hua was his father, even if Lu Hua were to look for his father because of this matter, his father would definitely suppress this matter. No matter how much he fought for power with Lu Zhiqiao, that was an internal matter of the third prince's bloodline. Whether he or Lu Zhiqiao ascended the throne, they were both his father's sons. Therefore, Lu Hua would not harm his own son. Therefore, Lu Jianan boldly put forward his own request at the board meeting. Moreover, he twisted the truth and said that Lu Jifei, a despicable guy, was a talent. Lu Jifei. Lu Jiangyan silently repeated this name. He still had an impression of this child of the Lu family. He was a nephew of one of his uncles. After he became rich, he established the Lu family's children's entrepreneurship fund. All the children of the Lu family could get a sum of entrepreneurial funds after they grew up, and this Lu Jifei was one of them. In his impression, he ran a small trading company. He just used the Jiangyan Group's prestige to do some small business. When it came to talent, he really didn't find him to be a talent. Even if Lu Jifei was not a direct descendant of the Lu family but a collateral descendant, Lu Jiangyan still gave him the necessary attention after he took away the entrepreneurship fund. It could be said that Lu Jifei's every move was still in the old man's sight. After all, Lu Jiangyan also wanted to see if there were any outstanding children in the Lu family's collateral descendant. If there were, he didn't mind helping them. However, Lu Jiangyan didn't have the leisure to help those with mediocre qualifications. Being able to use the Lu family's Jiangyan Group's name to do some small business with the entrepreneurship fund was already worthy of these children of the Lu family. Therefore, when Lu Jinan said that Lu Jifei was a talent, although Lu Jiangyan didn't show anything, he was a little disappointed in his grandson. The group belonged to the entire Lu family. The quality of the group and the quality of the senior executives were the key to the success or failure of the group's future development. Lu Jiangyan understood Lu Jinan's approach of placing his own forces in the group. In fact, a large business family was the epitome of imperial power in the past. The open and covert struggles within the family were no weaker than the palace struggles. It was normal for brothers to scheme against each other and fight to the death. When Lu Jiangyan was young, he was very puzzled when he saw some of his old friends' children fighting for power. At that time, he naively thought that as long as he educated his children well, such things would definitely not happen in the future. However, when he really came to this day, he suddenly realized that all of this was not under his control. First, it was his 3 sons, then his 2 grandsons and granddaughter. It was also because of this that Lu Jiangyan didn't comment on the matter of Lu Jinan placing his trusted aides in important positions in the company. The only thing he could do now was to maintain the superficial harmony between these few descendants. As long as they could put on an act in front of him and didn't go too far, Lu Jiangyan would let them be. However, in his heart, he still hoped that his little granddaughter would be the one to take the top position. There was no other reason. It was just that although Lu Huamei was also fighting, she had a clear conscience. Everything Lu Huamei did was from the perspective of the company's interests. Even if it was for herself, it was under the premise of the company's interests. She had never fought with others for her own personal affairs. Only such a person who was dedicated to the public interest could Lu Jiangyan feel assured to hand the company over to her. This could also ensure the company's long-term prosperity. As for Lu Jinan, everything he did was for himself. As for the company's interests, perhaps it was not worth mentioning in his eyes. This could be seen from the issue of arranging this Lu Jifei. Although the deputy director of the company's finance department was only a deputy position, it was still an important position. Letting such a mediocre person hold this position. Isn't this a joke? Isn't he taking the company's interests too lightly? Lu Jiangyan was well aware of Lu Jinan's motives. It was because the finance department had always been managed by his granddaughter, Lu Huamei, which made Lu Jinan very unhappy. He wanted to take this opportunity to plant a nail beside Lu Huamei. This contract was signed under the leadership of Lu Jifei. Lu Jiangyan looked at the copy of the contract in his hand. He frowned slightly as he looked at it. His fingers tapped on the table rhythmically as he asked slowly. Yes, our company has had many similar collaborations. However, this time, it is undoubtedly the most successful and most beneficial to our company. Lu Jinan said proudly, it can be seen that Lu Jifei is a rare talent. Our company must entrust this kind of talent with heavy responsibilities in order to play his role. The most successful and most beneficial. Lu Jiangyan finished reading the contract in his hand and threw it aside. His expression did not reveal his thoughts at the moment, so, this Lu Jifei is really a talent. This, grandson thinks so. Lu Jinan was a little carried away, but he also felt a strange atmosphere. Why do I feel like there is more to grandfather's words? You think so? Lu Jiangyan suddenly slammed the table and snorted coldly. If this Lu Jifei is a genius, then the Mingyang security company that signed the contract is a big fool. Ah! Lu Jinan was stunned on the spot. He did not understand what grandfather's words meant. However, many of the Lu family's disciples and those who were not part of Lu Jinan's faction laughed secretly. Although they did not see what was written on the contract, they thought that old master Lu Jiangyan must have seen that something was wrong, so he immediately went crazy. This time, there was a good show to watch. This Lu Jianan seemed to have shot himself in the foot. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.